Ahn Seo-jun is the school's punching bag. 3 years of it and the kid still shows up. That's either courage or insanity. Today's special is a hallway ambush near the bicycle shed. Choi Ki-hyun leads the crew, grinning like he just won the lottery. He used to be Seo-jun's friend, back before the gates opened. Back before Ki-hyun awakened as an A rank, while Seo-jun stayed a nobody. Now the guy gets his kicks from stomping his old buddy into the concrete. Ki-hyun plants a foot on Seo-jun's chest and asks if he's got any last words. Seo-jun doesn't give him the satisfaction. He just stares up with those dead eyes and waits for it to end. Ki-hyun's goons laugh and call him a broken doll. One of them kicks his backpack into a puddle of rainwater. Another one grabs his phone and tosses it across the yard. The screen shatters on impact, and Seo-jun watches $200 evaporate. He can't even afford to replace it. Ki-hyun crouches down and whispers that Seo-jun's brother would be ashamed. That's the line that gets him. Seo-jun's fists clench hard enough to draw blood from his palms. But before he can swing, a teacher rounds the corner, and the pack scatters like roaches. Seo-jun lies there on the cold ground, breathing through the sting. He picks himself up slowly, wipes the mud off his uniform. Ki-hyun's words echo louder than the bruises. Ji-ho would be ashamed. Maybe he's right. The lunch bell rings and Seo-jun drags himself toward the gymnasium for the afternoon assembly. He doesn't notice the strange crack in the air above the school roof. Nobody does. The whole student body is packed into the gym when it happens. The principal is droning on about exam schedules and curfew violations. Seo-jun stands near the back, still brushing dirt off his sleeve. Then the lights flicker. A low hum vibrates through the floor like a subwoofer buried underground. Kids start looking around, whispering. The hum becomes a roar, and right above the basketball court, reality tears open like cheap fabric. A gate, bright purple and crackling with black lightning, spinning in place. Teachers scream at students to run. The evacuation drills kick in, everybody scrambling for the exits. Seo-jun gets caught in the crush of bodies, shoved sideways toward the gym doors. He's almost through, when a hand grabs his collar and yanks him backward. Choi Ki-hyun. The guy's face is twisted in panic, but he still finds time to be a monster. He hisses that Seo-jun's finally useful for something. Then he hurls him straight into the swirling purple maw of the gate. A couple of Ki-hyun's friends block the teachers from seeing what happened. Seo-jun hits the portal surface and everything goes wrong. His body stretches and compresses at the same time. The world flips inside out. He lands hard on stone floors lit by sickly green moss. The gate spits him into the dungeon's core chamber. Behind him, the portal stays open just enough to see the gym on the other side. But he can't reach it. Monsters are already pouring through. Seo-jun presses himself against the chamber wall, while goblins with too many teeth scramble past him. They're heading for the exit, for the school, for everyone. He should be terrified. He is terrified, but something else in this room pulls his attention away from the panic. In the center of the chamber floats a glowing orb. It's no bigger than a baseball, and it pulses with a deep golden light. The monsters avoid it completely, giving it a wide berth like it burns them just to look at it. Seo-jun stares at the thing, and the thing stares back. A voice scrapes through his skull. It doesn't use words exactly. It plants images inside his mind instead. A war fought between giants in a sky made of fire. 7 fragments scattered across dimensions. A name whispered by dying gods. The fragment offers him a deal. Power beyond anything this world has ever seen. All he has to do is reach out and take it. Seo-jun doesn't hesitate. He's been powerless for 3 years, watching his life fall apart. His brother disappeared into a gate just like this one, and never came back. If this thing can give him even a fraction of a chance to find Ji-ho, he'll take it. He lunges forward and grabs the orb with both hands. The contact is immediate and catastrophic. Every nerve in his body ignites at once. He screams, but no sound comes out. The orb melts into his chest, sinking through skin and bone. A blue system window blinks into existence before his eyes. Words form in crisp, white text. Infinite potential unlocked. Skill copy ability activated. Growth limit removed. Then blackness swallows him whole. When he wakes up, he's lying on grass under a dark sky. The air smells like ozone and burnt rubber. Sirens wail in the distance. He blinks and a group of hunters comes into focus around him. They're all in combat gear, weapons drawn, looking at him like he's a bomb that might go off. One of them mutters that they found a survivor. Another one calls for the S rank on comms. Seo-jun tries to sit up, but his muscles refuse to cooperate. A woman steps through the crowd and everything goes quiet. She's tall, with sharp features and black hair pulled tight behind her head. Her hunter coat bears the S rank insignia. Ahn Seo-jun. She looks down at Seo-jun with an expression he can't read. Cold. Calculating. Maybe a little curious. She asks him how he survived direct contact with a god fragment. Seo-jun doesn't have an answer. He doesn't even know what a god fragment is. Soo-yun's eyes narrow. She tells the medics to take him to the isolation ward. Then she turns her back and walks away like he's already been filed and processed. Seo-jun gets hauled onto a stretcher and loaded into an ambulance. The system window flickers in the corner of his vision the whole ride. He passes out again before they reach the hospital. He wakes up in a cramped apartment, not a hospital bed, his apartment. Someone must have cleared him and sent him home while he was unconscious. The clock blinks 3:47. He's been out for nearly 2 days. His body feels different, lighter, sharper, like someone swapped his bones for carbon fiber. He checks himself in the bathroom mirror and looks exactly the same. But the system window pops up again, showing him a skill tree that shouldn't exist. And at the very top, a progress bar labeled God Fragment Integration, 12%. He doesn't know what that means, but it's moving slowly upward. He wanders back into his bedroom, and something catches his eye. An old leather journal on his desk. Ji-ho's diary. He hasn't touched it in 3 years. Tonight, he opens it. The first pages are normal. Training logs, dungeon notes, grocery lists. But near the middle, Ji-ho's handwriting gets messy. Paranoid scribbles about an organization called the Subjugators. About 7 fragments of an ancient god's soul hidden inside the world's most dangerous dungeons. About a man named Min Jae-won, who's collecting them. The last entry is dated the day Ji-ho disappeared. He wrote that he found the location of the god-level dungeon, where 1 fragment is sealed. He planned to go in alone. He never came back out. Seo-jun closes the diary and stares at the wall for a long time. The fragment in his chest hums, warm and insistent. He knows what he has to do. Find the dungeon. Follow his brother's trail, and tear the truth out of the subjugators with his bare hands if he has to. He didn't sit on that decision for long. The diary entry burned a hole through his brain for the rest of the night. By sunrise, he's already packed a bag. Nothing fancy, just water, rations, and his brother's worn leather journal tucked against his chest. The god-level dungeon Ji-ho wrote about sits 2 hours outside the city, deep in the mountain range where no civilian gates ever spawn. Authorities sealed the whole area 3 years ago, after 17 hunters vanished inside. Seo-jun doesn't care about the danger. He just needs to see it with his own eyes. The bus ride gives him time to think. The system window flickers in and out of his peripheral vision the whole way. That progress bar ticks up to 13%, somewhere around the halfway mark. He doesn't feel different exactly, but the hum inside his chest gets warmer the closer he gets to the mountains. Like the fragment knows it's heading towards something it recognizes. He steps off the bus into a town that looks abandoned. Boarded windows, empty streets, a faded sign warning travelers about restricted zones ahead. The air tastes like copper and cold stone. He follows Ji-ho's directions past the checkpoint, through a dried-out riverbed, and up a ridge that overlooks a crater the size of a football stadium. That's where he sees it, a massive gate frozen mid-expansion, encased in some kind of transparent amber-colored barrier. Purple light pulses weakly inside, struggling against the seal like a heart beating underwater. The government's containment field. Seo-jun stares at it for a long time. His brother walked into that thing 3 years ago and never walked out. The fragment in his chest pulses once, hard, and a voice scrapes through his skull again. Not words, just an image. A chamber deep below the crater, ancient and untouched, with 7 pedestals arranged in a circle. 6 of them are empty. One holds a fragment identical to the one inside him. The message couldn't be clear. The location Ji-ho died looking for is real, and there's still a piece of the god down there. Seo-jun clenches his fists until his knuckles go white. He's not strong enough to breach the containment field yet, and even if he could, he'd get torn apart inside the dungeon. But now he knows where he's going. And now he knows what's waiting for him when he gets there. The trip back to the city feels shorter. He doesn't sleep that night. Instead, he pulls up the Hunter Association's public portal and registers for a ranking evaluation. The earliest slot is 8 a.m. tomorrow. He takes it. Walking into the Hunter Association headquarters for the first time, Seo-jun feels every eye in the lobby slide right past. He's just another skinny kid in a hoodie with zero presence. Nobody gives him a second look. The evaluation center is a stark white room, full of machines designed to measure mana output, physical capability, and skill manifestation. A bored-looking examiner in a lab coat waves him toward the first station without even glancing up from his clipboard. The mana capacity test is first. Seo-jun places both hands on a crystalline panel and waits. The machine hums. The examiner frowns. The display blinks a single digit. 0. The examiner exhales through his nose and marks something on his clipboard without comment. Then the growth index test begins, and everything in the room changes. Seo-jun channels just a sliver of the fragment's energy into the sensor array, and the machine screams. Alarms blare. The display flickers red, then cycles through a string of error codes before settling on 2 words. Limitless. Unquantifiable. The examiner drops his clipboard. He scrambles for the intercom and calls for a supervisor with a voice that's half panic and half disbelief. 3 senior analysts crowd around the display, arguing about whether the equipment is malfunctioning. They run the test 3 more times. Same result every time. Seo-jun just stands there with his hands in his pockets, letting them freak out. It's almost funny. An hour ago he was invisible, and now a room full of scientists is treating him like he might explode. The commotion draws attention from the observation deck. He feels her before he sees her. That cold pressure at the edge of his awareness, like stepping into a walk-in freezer. Ahn Seo-jun stands behind the glass with her arms crossed, watching the chaos unfold with an expression carved from stone. She's been watching him since he walked into the building. She waits until the analysts run out of questions they can't answer, and then she steps into the testing room. Everyone goes quiet. She looks at Seo-jun and says she'll handle his training personally. No preamble, no explanation. Just a statement of fact that nobody in the room is stupid enough to argue with. Seo-jun blinks. He asks if this is because of the fragment. Soo-yeon's eyes narrow a fraction of an inch. She tells him to report to the private training facility at dawn tomorrow. Then she walks out before he can ask anything else. He shows up the next morning to a gymnasium that looks more like a reinforced bunker. Reinforced walls, mana-dampening wards etched into every surface, and a sparring floor scuffed raw from years of high-level combat. Soo-yeon is already there, stretching like she didn't just wake up 10 minutes ago. She doesn't bother with small talk. She tells him to attack her with everything he's got. Seo-jun hesitates for half a second. Then he rushes her. He's faster than he used to be. The fragment has rewired his reflexes, sharpened his reaction time, made his movements smoother and more efficient. Against a normal hunter, he'd probably land a hit. Against an S rank, he's a toddler swinging a plastic sword. Soo-yeon sidesteps his fastest lunge without breaking eye contact, hooks his ankle, and puts him on the ground in one motion. He hits the mat hard enough to rattle his teeth. She tells him to get up and try again. He gets up. He tries again. She puts him down 15 more times before she even breaks a sweat. On the 16th attempt, Seo-jun pushes the fragment's energy into his legs and launches himself forward at a speed he didn't know he could reach. Soo-yeon's eyes widen just slightly before she pivots and counters. But this time he clips her shoulder. It's not a real hit. She's not injured, but he touched her. She stares at him for a long moment. Then she tells him that's enough for today. As he's catching his breath, something in his ribs shifts wrong, and a sharp pain lances through his side. He grimaces and presses a hand against the injury. Soo-yeon frowns and says his body hasn't finished adapting to the fragment's energy yet. She calls someone on her comm. 10 minutes later, the gym door swings open, and a woman with bright eyes and an even brighter smile walks in like she owns the place. Kang Mi-ri, A-rank healer, notorious chatterbox, and the complete opposite of Soo-yeon in every way that matters. She takes one look at Seo-jun doubled over on the bench, clicks her tongue, and tells him he looks terrible. Then she places both hands on his ribs, and a warm green light floods into his chest. The pain dissolves in seconds. It's the most gentle sensation he's felt since the fragment merged with him 3 days ago. Miri grins and asks if he's the mystery kid everyone was buzzing about in the evaluation hall. Seo-jun admits that, yeah, that's probably him. She laughs and says she's going to be seeing a lot of him then, because Soo-yeon doesn't break her toys gently. Soo-yeon makes an irritated noise from across the gym, but doesn't deny it. Over the next week, a rhythm develops. Seo-jun trains with Soo-yeon in the mornings, gets patched up by Miri in the afternoons, and spends his evenings studying Jiho's diary for any clue he missed. The girls orbit him like 2 planets with incompatible gravitational pulls. Soo-yeon is cold, demanding, and pushes him until his muscles scream and his mana reserves run dry. Miri is warm, teasing, and somehow always finds an excuse to linger after his healing sessions with snacks and questions about his day. They don't like each other, or, more accurately, they don't like how much time the other spends with him. Soo-yeon glares at Miri every time she walks into the gym. Miri makes a point of touching Seo-jun's arm or shoulder whenever Soo-yeon is watching, just to see the S-rank's jaw tighten. Seo-jun notices all of it and has absolutely no idea what to do with it. He's a guy who got stuffed into lockers 3 weeks ago, and now 2 of the most powerful women in the association are low-key fighting over who gets to stand next to him. It's absurd. It's also kind of nice. During a sparring session on the 6th day, something clicks. Soo-yeon comes at him with a basic reinforcement technique, a shimmering coat of mana that hardens her skin and multiplies her striking power. Seo-jun watches the energy flow through her body once, just once. His eyes track the pattern without conscious thought. The fragment's hum sharpens into something almost eager. He raises his arm to block her next strike, and the same shimmering aura flickers across his own skin. Her punch connects, and instead of shattering his guard, the force distributes across his entire forearm. He barely feels it. He copied it in a single observation. Soo-jun stops dead. She stares at the fading glow on his arm, and her expression goes through at least 4 separate emotions before settling on something unreadable. She tells him that skill took her 6 months to master. Seo-jun rubs the back of his neck and says it just made sense when he saw it. That's when her eyes flicker with something that isn't shock. It's closer to fear. She lowers her stance and tells him they're done for today. Later that night, Seo-jun is alone in his apartment when his phone buzzes. A text from an unknown number. No greeting, no name, just 5 words. "We know what you are." He stares at the screen. The fragment pulses inside his chest, hot and alert. Another message arrives immediately after. "Stop looking for your brother or you'll end up the same way." The sender doesn't identify themselves. They don't have to. Seo-jun screenshots both messages and sends them to Soo-jun without a second thought. She calls him back in under a minute. Her voice is flat, but there's tension coiled underneath it, like a spring about to snap. She tells him to stay where he is and not to open the door for anyone. Then she tells him it's time he knew the truth about the people hunting him. 20 minutes later, she's sitting across from him at his tiny kitchen table. Her posture is rigid, her hands wrapped around a cup of tea she hasn't touched. She starts by saying she joined the subjugators when she was 19. They recruited her right after she awakened as an S rank, promised her a place among the elite hunters who would reshape the world. And for a while she believed them. They told her they were collecting fragments of an ancient god's soul to prevent another catastrophe, that they were protecting humanity from forces it couldn't comprehend. Then she saw what they did to the hunters who resisted them. The executions disguised as dungeon accidents, the families threatened into silence, the experiments on captured fragments that left entire sectors of reality warped and bleeding. She defected 2 years ago and has been feeding information to the association ever since. The subjugators have 3 fragments already. Min Jae-won has absorbed 2 of them into his own body, making him the strongest hunter alive. He wants all 7. He wants to become a god. Soo-jun looks at Seo-jun across the table, and her voice drops to something almost gentle. She says she knew his brother. She says Ji-ho was the reason she found the courage to leave. Seo-jun let the silence stretch for a long moment. The hum in his chest was still hot and sharp. He looks at Soo-jun across the tiny kitchen table. His voice is flat. He asks her if the subjugators have any bases near the city. Soo-jun's eyes narrow. She tells him that's a dangerous question. He doesn't blink. She calls him an idiot. Then she reaches into her jacket and pulls out a worn data chip. She slides it across the table and says one name. An old shipping depot in the Incheon Industrial District. Low security. Skeleton crew. Mostly surveillance drones and a few B-rank guards. Seo-jun pockets the chip. Soo-jun tells him to wait. She asks if he even has a plan. He shrugs. He's got the element of surprise and a god fragment in his chest. What else does he need? She pinches the bridge of her nose like he's giving her a migraine. He's already standing up. 2 hours later, he's crouched on a rooftop overlooking the depot. The night air tastes like rust and diesel. The fragment's hum steadies his breathing. He watches the patrol routes for exactly 30 minutes. 3 guards. 2 drones cycling every 90 seconds. 1 window on the east side with a busted lock. He drops from the roof and lands without a sound. His legs pulse with faint golden light. The fragment's energy seeps into his muscles like warm oil. He moves along the wall and slips through the window. Inside, the depot is a maze of shipping containers and flickering fluorescent tubes. He keeps to the shadows. Then he freezes. One of the guards is doing something strange. The man stops in the middle of the hallway and closes his eyes. A thin ripple of blue mana spreads out from his body. It washes over the walls and the containers like sonar. Seo-jun watches the ripple approach. His eyes track the flow of mana through the guard's channels. The pattern etches itself into his brain. The fragment's hum sharpens. Mana sense, a detection skill. He absorbs it in a single heartbeat. He can feel the exact radius. The ripple hits him and passes through without registering. The fragment masks his signature. The guard yawns and moves on. Our boy exhales. That was too close. He reaches the central control room and slips inside. A single technician sits in front of a bank of monitors. Seo-jun copies the guard's mana sense and lets a tiny pulse flood the room. He feels every electronic signal. He locates the audio feed from the main comms array. He pulls out his phone and splices into the feed with a cheap adapter. Voices fill his earbud. Most of it is routine garbage. Then he hears a name that makes his blood run cold. Choi Ki-hyun. Someone on the line asks for the status of the academy asset. A woman's voice answers. She says the A-rank student is ready to feed them intel on the new anomaly. The anomaly being trained by Ahn Seo-jun. Seo-jun's jaw tightens. Our trash bully is a full-blown informant. He records everything. Then he pulls out and vanishes through the same broken window. When he gets back to his apartment, Soo-yeon is still there. She's gripping the table edge. He tells her what he found. She doesn't look surprised. She says she suspected Choi was dirty. But now they have proof. He asks if they can use him. She smiles. It's not a warm smile. The next morning, Seo-jun walks through the gates of the Hunter Academy. The campus looks like a cross between a military base and a university. Gray concrete. Towering mana barriers. Hundreds of students in blue training uniforms. He's wearing the same uniform now. Official trainee badge clipped to his chest. His presence sets off a ripple of whispers. They all heard about the evaluation. Limitless potential. S-rank mentor. Some call him a fraud. Others call him a freak. He ignores them. Then a familiar voice cuts through the crowd. Choi Ki-hyun struts over with his usual posse of bootlickers. He grins like a hyena. He calls Seo-jun a cockroach who got lucky. He says the test was rigged. He asks if Seo-jun cried when Soo-young had to hold his hand. The posse laughs. Seo-jun doesn't react. He just stares at Choi's face. He remembers the voice on the comms feed. Our boy knows what this trash really is. Choi shoves his shoulder. Still no reaction. Seo-jun steps around him and keeps walking. Choi yells after him that he's a coward. The other students fall silent. Some of them exchange glances. The bully just got ignored like he was air. That's not weakness. That's control. A few kids nod at Seo-jun as he passes. He earned a sliver of respect without throwing a single punch. Soo-yeon watches from the second-floor observation deck. Her arms are crossed. But there's the faintest curl at the corner of her mouth. He did exactly what she wanted. Later that afternoon, Seo-jun is in the mess hall. He's balancing a tray of something that claims to be meat. Choi accidentally bumps into him from behind. The tray clatters. The stew splashes onto Seo-jun's arm. A shard of broken bowl slices his forearm. It's small, just a thin line of blood. Choi smirks and mutters an insincere apology. He's already turning away. Then a hand touches Seo-jun's elbow. Golden light washes over the cut. The skin knits shut in less than a second. Kang Mi-ri is standing right next to him. Her eyes are warm. Her touch lingers a little longer than necessary. She tells him that's a pretty sad welcome wagon. She asks if he needs a personal healer to follow him around. Her grin is 100% trouble. Seo-jun feels heat creeping up his neck. Mi-ri flicks a glance toward the second floor. Soo-yeon is staring down at them. Her expression is stone, but her knuckles are white on the railing. Mi-ri's grin widens. She loops her arm through Seo-jun's and tells him to eat with her. He doesn't argue. The tension between the two women could cut steel. Our boy is caught right in the middle. A week later, they're standing at the entrance of the Academy's mock dungeon. It's a fake gate filled with magical traps and simulated monsters. The test is simple. Clear it faster than everyone else. Choi Ki-hyun stands a few feet away. He's already gloating about his record. Then he glances at Seo-jun's equipment belt. The strap is frayed. It snaps. His pouch of detection beads and mana flares hits the floor. Choi's buddy snickers. Their sabotage is too obvious. The instructor doesn't notice. Seo-jun crouches down and scoops up the broken pouch. He ties it to his waist with a strip of cloth. He doesn't complain. He just steps into the dungeon. The fake gate swallows him in a swirl of blue light. Inside, the corridor is dark and narrow. Pressure plates are hidden under the stone tiles. Tripwires stretch across the path. Seo-jun closes his eyes. He activates the mana sense he copied at the depot. The blue ripple explodes outward. Every trap lights up in his mind like neon. He maps the entire floor in one pulse. Then he moves. He slides under a wire. He leaps over 3 plates in a single bound. He sidesteps a mana mine without breaking stride. The simulated monsters rush him, some sort of stone golems. He copies their own rock-hard fists mid-swing and shatters them with a punch. Boom! He doesn't stop. He hits the final chamber in under 4 minutes. The record was 7. When he walks back out, silence greets him. The timer on the scoreboard blinks like it's broken. Choi's face is purple. Soo-yeon is waiting at the exit. She asks him to follow her. They step into an empty training room. She locks the door. She tells him Choi Ki-hyun is on the subjugator's payroll. She's known for weeks. The only reason he's still at the academy is because she let him stay. She wanted to see who he'd contact. Now Seo-jun knows too. She turns to face him. Her eyes are cold and serious. She asks him if he understands what comes next. Our boy nods. The game is about to get a whole lot bigger. That night, Seo-jun makes a decision. He's going to get close to Choi Ki-hyun, not friend close, spy close. Our boy knows exactly what kind of snake he's dealing with. The next morning, he finds Choi in the courtyard. The bully's holding court with his usual pack of hyenas. They're laughing about something, probably someone else's misery. Seo-jun walks straight up to them. Choi's crew tenses up. One of them mutters that the freak is coming. Choi turns around with that greasy smirk. He asks if the cockroach finally grew a spine. Seo-jun doesn't flinch. He says he wants to bury the past. He asks if they can start over. The words taste like ash in his mouth, but he delivers them flat and steady. Choi blinks. The hyenas exchange confused glances. This isn't what they expected. Choi's smirk flickers. Then it comes back wider. He slaps Seo-jun on the shoulder way too hard. He says he always knew the loser would come crawling back. He tells Seo-jun to prove his loyalty. There's a task. Some first-year kids owe Choi protection money. Seo-jun can collect it. Our boy nods. He doesn't smile. He just agrees. Choi laughs and says, maybe the cockroach is useful after all. His crew snickers. Seo-jun walks away with a new card in his hand. Access to the inner circle. It's a small, grimy door, but it's open now. Soo-yeon meets him on the rooftop that evening. She asks if he's sure about this. Playing double agent isn't a game. Seo-jun tells her he's never been more sure. He needs to know what Choi reports, who he reports to, where the next fragment is. She studies his face for a long moment, then she nods. She tells him to be careful. Her hand brushes his arm. It lingers just a second too long. Our boy feels the heat rise. He doesn't pull away. 3 days later, the Academy announces a field exercise. Class 2A is entering a C-rank gate. Supervised raid. Live monsters. Real danger. The gate squats in an abandoned industrial park. It's smaller than the one that swallowed Seo-jun's school, but it still pulses with the same sick purple light. The same black veins of lightning. Their instructor is a B-rank hunter named Park Do-yeon. Square jaw. Bored eyes. He's seen 100 of these raids. He tells the students to stick together. Don't be a hero. Follow the formation. The portal swallows them in a cold rush. They land in a forest. Dead trees stretch in every direction. The sky is the color of a bruise. Fog coils around their ankles. Seo-jun activates Mana Sense immediately. The blue ripple expands outward. He maps the first 100 meters in a heartbeat. 3 goblin signatures. Low level. Easy. Park Do-yeon signals the vanguard forward. Choi pushes to the front. He's showing off. His blade flashes. 1 goblin drops, then another. The third bolts. Choi chases it. Seo-jun's sense pings a warning. There's something wrong. The mana in the air shifts. It thickens. He shouts at Choi to stop. Choi ignores him. He disappears behind a ridge. Then the ground shakes. A roar splits the silence. It's not a goblin. The boss monster just woke up. A C-rank gate shouldn't spawn a boss this early. Something triggered it. A trap. Seo-jun sprints toward the ridge. Park Do-yeon is shouting orders. The formation breaks. Students scramble in every direction. Choi emerges from behind the ridge. His face is pale. He's running the wrong way. He's abandoning the formation. The hyena leaves his pack behind. Seo-jun reaches the ridge and looks down. The boss is a stone-hide ogre, 12 feet of gray muscle and jagged tusks. Its fists are the size of boulders. It's already charging the scattered students. 2 of them are frozen. A girl with glasses. A boy who dropped his sword. They're directly in its path. Seo-jun doesn't think. He moves. He channels fragment energy into his legs. The burst launches him down the slope. He lands between the ogre and the students. He slams his palms together. The reinforcement technique coats his skin in shimmering mana. He copied it from Soo-yeon weeks ago. Now it's the only thing keeping him alive. The ogre swings a fist the size of a car door. Seo-jun raises his arms. The impact kicks up a plume of dust. Our boy skids backward. His heels carve trenches in the dirt. But he doesn't fall. The girl behind him gasps. The boy grabs his sword. Seo-jun barks at them to run. They finally move. The ogre roars. It swings again. This time, Seo-jun sidesteps. He copies the ogre's own hardened skin. His arm transforms into living stone. He drives a punch into the creature's knee. The joint cracks. The ogre stumbles. It's not enough to kill, but it buys seconds. Seo-jun cycles through every copied skill in his arsenal. He slides under the next swing. He vaults off a dead tree. He needs something bigger. Anything. Then he remembers. A week ago, during a demonstration, an A-rank hunter had visited the academy. She showed the students a lightning lance. Seo-jun had watched from the back row. He'd seen it exactly once. That's enough. He reaches for the memory. The skill crystallizes in his mind. Mana surges through his arm. Electricity crackles between his fingers. It's messy, but it's his. The ogre turns and charges. Seo-jun thrusts his hand forward. The lightning lance screams through the air. It punches through the ogre's chest. Stone flesh chars black. The creature stumbles. It crashes to its knees. Then it collapses. Silence floods the forest. The fog swirls around the corpse. Park Do-yeon arrives at a dead sprint. His sword is drawn, but there's nothing left to fight. He stares at Seo-jun, then at the smoking hole in the ogre's chest. He asks how a trainee just killed a boss monster. Seo-jun's knees buckle. Mana exhaustion hits him like a truck. He's done. He collapses before he can answer. When he wakes, he's in the academy infirmary. Kang Mi-ri is sitting beside his bed. Her golden healing magic glows around her fingertips. She's been monitoring his vitals. Her face is tight with worry. She tells him he's an idiot. A brave idiot, but still an idiot. Her voice cracks just a little. She asks if he has any idea how scared she was. Seo-jun manages a weak grin. He asks if she missed him. She punches his shoulder, but she doesn't deny it. The door opens. Soo-yeon walks in. Her expression is carved from ice. She's holding a report. She tells Seo-jun the gate was rigged. The trap was planted. Someone triggered the boss early on purpose. She doesn't say the name. She doesn't have to. Choi Ki-hyun. He ran the moment the ogre appeared. He's the only one who got out without a scratch, and he's already filing a report claiming he heroically led the retreat. Our boy clenches his fists. Miri's healing glow intensifies. She tells him to relax, or his recovery will backslide. Soo-yeon steps closer. Her voice drops. She says the subjugators are watching now. The lightning lance caught their attention. They know what Seo-jun can do. The window of stealth is closing. She asks if he's ready for what comes next. Seo-jun meets her eyes. He nods. He's been ready since the day they threw him into that gate. Later that night, Choi Ki-hyun is not in his dorm. He's standing in a warehouse on the city's edge. The air smells of rust and old blood. A single figure waits in the shadows. Min Jae-won. He doesn't speak at first. He just stares at Choi like a bug under glass. Minnie asks why the report was so disappointing. Choi stammers. He says the trap worked. The boss woke early. He says Seo-jun should be dead. Min steps forward. The shadows follow him like a cloak. He says should be is not is. He says the boy is still breathing, still growing, still copying skills he has no right to possess. Choi drops to his knees. He begs for another chance. Min crouches down. His voice is soft, almost kind. He tells Choi he will get one more chance. Just one. The next high-level gate raid. The next trap will be perfect. No survivors, no mistakes. Choi nods frantically. Sweat drips from his chin. Min rises. He turns his back. He says there is one more thing. Choi looks up. Min tells him the fragment inside the boy is accelerating. The integration is at 12% and climbing. If it reaches full saturation, Seo-jun becomes a threat. A real one. He says the next raid must end with the boy's body at his feet and the fragment in his hand. Choi swears it will be done. Min vanishes into the darkness. Choi stays on his knees a long time. His fists are trembling, but his eyes are sharp. He's planning already. The game just got a lot more dangerous. Choi Ki-hyun is still on his knees. The warehouse floor is freezing. Min Jae-won's footsteps echo once, then silence. Choi doesn't dare look up. He hears Min's voice from somewhere above him, soft, almost bored. He says the next raid is an A-rank gate, scheduled in 3 weeks. Joint operation with the Hunter Association. Full squad of trainees. Choi's job is simple. He gets assigned to Seo-jun's party. He leads the boy to the deepest chamber, and he triggers the secondary collapse. Min says the ceiling comes down. No witnesses. No rescue. Choi's throat bobs. He asks how he's supposed to survive that himself. Min drops something at his knees. A thin, silver pendant. Engraved with a single rune. One-use dimensional shift. It'll pull Choi out the instant the roof crumbles. Our boy's supposed to be buried. Min says the fragment survives anything. They dig it out of the rubble later. Choi clutches the pendant like it's made of gold. He swears he won't fail. Min is already gone. The shadows swallow him whole. Choi stays there for 10 full minutes. His breathing is ragged. Then he laughs. It's a thin sound, but it's real. This trash actually thinks he's won. Next morning. Dawn light cuts through the academy dorms. Seo-jun is already awake. He's been awake for hours. His body still aches from the mana exhaustion. Miri's healing worked miracles, but the deep burn in his muscles hasn't faded. He sits on the edge of his bed. The fragment pulses once. 12%. It's climbing faster now. He doesn't know what happens at 100. He intends to find out. His phone buzzes. Soo-yeon. She tells him to meet her at the private gym in 30 minutes. No explanation. Just coordinates. Seo-jun pulls on his training gear. The fabric scrapes against bandaged ribs. He doesn't wince. 30 minutes later, he pushes through the gym doors. Same reinforced bunker. Same mana-dampening wards glowing faint blue on the walls. But something's different. Soo-yeon stands at the center of the sparring floor. Her arms are crossed. Her expression is unreadable. She's not wearing her usual training jacket, just a black combat vest. Scars on her forearms catch the light. She tells him the warm-up phase is over. He asks what that means. She answers with a punch. It's fast. Faster than anything she threw during their first session. Seo-jun barely sidesteps. The air cracks past his ear. She's already throwing the second. He ducks. The third clips his shoulder. He stumbles. She doesn't stop. He asks if this is punishment. She says this is teaching. Mana control. He's got raw power now. She's seen his lightning lance. It's loud. It's wasteful. He's burning through his reserves like a bonfire. She wants him to learn precision. One drop of mana instead of a flood. Efficiency over spectacle. She demonstrates. A thin line of silver light traces down her arm. It pools in her palm. Then it fires. A needle-thin projectile. It punches a coin-sized hole through a training dummy 50 meters away. No explosion. No smoke. Just a perfect clean hole. Seo-jun stares. She says he's going to learn that. He's going to learn it today, and she's going to keep hitting him until he does. Guess what happens next? She hits him. A lot. For 3 straight hours, Seo-jun dodges and fails and gets knocked down. He tries to condense his mana the way she shows him. His first attempt fizzles. Nothing happens. The second explodes outward and nearly takes his own hand off. Soo-yeon doesn't flinch. She tells him to do it again. He does. 50 attempts. 80. His reserves are draining, his legs are shaking, but on the 97th try something clicks. The mana in his palm tightens. It doesn't scatter. It doesn't explode. It condenses into a bead of silver light the size of a marble. He fires it. The training dummy's head snaps back. Soo-yeon watches the dummy wobble. She nods. Once. That's approval from her. Seo-jun drops to his knees. He's grinning like an idiot. He asks if that was acceptable. She says it was adequate. Then she adds that it took her 3 months to learn that trick. Our boy did it in 1 morning. He doesn't brag. But the grin gets bigger. Soo-yeon tells him to stand up. She's not done. She walks to the center of the gym. Her hand drops to the hilt of her training sword. She says he's copied reinforcement. He's copied mana sense. He copied lightning lance from a single demonstration. Now she wants to see how far the copying really goes. She tells him to watch closely. She draws the blade. The sword is wooden, but when she raises it, the air around her shifts. Silver mana spirals up the blade. It thickens. It curves. The shape becomes something fluid, a crescent of light. She swings. The Moonlight Slash. The arc of silver energy screams across the gym. It splits the floor. It cleaves a barrier ward in half. The training dummy behind it gets bisected cleanly from crown to groin. Seo-jun's eyes are wide. Soo-yeon sheathes the sword. She turns to him. She says that is her signature technique. She's used it exactly 12 times in real combat. 11 of those targets are dead. The 12th is missing both arms. She asks if he got a good look. He nods slowly. The fragment is burning in his chest. But it's not just copying this time. It's something else. He sees the slash in his mind. Every frame of it. The angle of her wrist. The distribution of mana density along the blade. The exact moment the energy released. He understands it. Not just the technique. The principle. He steps forward. He asks for a training sword. Soo-yeon tosses him one. He catches it. The blade feels wrong in his grip. But the fragment doesn't care. It feeds him the blueprint. He raises the sword. Mana surges down his arm. It's not silver like hers. It's gold. Molten gold. It spirals up the wooden edge. The crescent forms. It's smaller than hers, rougher around the edges. But it's real. He swings. The Moonlight Slash erupts from his blade. It's ugly. The arc wobbles. But it flies. It punches through the far wall. A 2-meter gash opens in the reinforced concrete. Sunlight pours through from outside. Dust rains down. Soo-yeon doesn't move. She stares at the hole, then at Seo-jun, then back at the hole. Her lips part. She says, "That's impossible." Her voice is barely a whisper. She asks how long he's known that skill. Seo-jun lowers the sword. Mana exhaustion is already creeping back. He tells her he learned it just now. From her. One look. She's silent for a long time. Then she laughs. It's the first time he's ever heard her laugh. It's not cold. It's not harsh. It's surprised. She says Ji-ho was right about him. Seo-jun's heart stops. He asks what she just said. Soo-yeon's expression closes off instantly, but it's too late. The name is out. She walks to the edge of the gym. She sits on a bench. Her posture is stiff. Seo-jun follows. He asks again, what did Ji-ho say? Soo-yeon doesn't look at him. She says Ji-ho talked about his little brother constantly, said the kid was smarter than him, stronger in ways that didn't show on tests, said if anyone could finish what he started, it would be Seo-jun. Seo-jun's jaw tightens. He asks how she knew his brother. Soo-yeon's voice drops. She tells him the subjugators recruited her when she was 18. They promised her power, purpose. She rose fast. Too fast. 23, she was Min Jae-won's top field operative. Then she met Ji-ho. He was already inside the organization, deep cover, trying to expose what Min was really building. She says Ji-ho saved her, not with a sword, with the truth. He showed her the soul extraction chambers, the hunters Min had drained to feed the fragments, the bodies. She says she couldn't unsee it. She defected 2 years ago. Ji-ho helped her escape. He stayed behind. 3 months later, he walked into the god-level gate and never came out. Seo-jun's fists are shaking. He asks if she loved him. Soo-yeon goes very still. She says yes. Then she says she failed him. She couldn't save him. So she's been trying to make up for it by protecting Seo-jun. Our boy doesn't answer right away. The air between them is heavy. Then he says she didn't fail. She's here. She's teaching him. She's giving him a chance to finish what his brother started. That's not failure. Soo-yeon looks at him. Her eyes are wet, but she doesn't cry. She just nods. Then the gym door slams open. Kang Mi-ri. She's carrying a plastic bag. It's full of snacks. She announces that training is officially over. She brought rice cakes. She brought honey chips. She brought enough sugar to kill a small animal. Her voice is bright, but her eyes bounce between Seo-jun and Soo-yeon. She clocks the tension instantly. She asks if she's interrupting something. Soo-yeon stands. She says they were finished. Her voice is ice again. Mi-ri doesn't buy it. She plops down on the bench next to Seo-jun, much closer than necessary. She shoves a rice cake into his hand. She says he looks like death. Eat. He manages a weak smile. He thanks her. She beams. Then she glances at Soo-yeon. Her smile sharpens just a little. She says it's good that Seo-jun has such a dedicated teacher. Such a dedicated older teacher. Soo-yeon's eyebrow twitches. She says she's 27. Mi-ri says that's what she meant. Old. These two are absolutely throwing sparks at each other. Seo-jun stuffs the rice cake into his mouth. He's too exhausted to mediate a catfight. His phone buzzes. Then it buzzes again. Then it keeps buzzing. He pulls it out. The screen is glitching. Purple light strobes behind the glass. The fragment in his chest surges. Hard. A wave of heat rolls through his ribs. He drops the phone. The screen is still lit up. But it's not a message. It's an image. Pushed directly into the display by something that is not the operating system. A map. An abandoned factory complex. 20 kilometers east of the city. A marker blinks red over the main assembly floor. Below it, 3 words. Fragment detected. Soo-yeon grabs the phone. Her face goes pale. She says that location was supposed to be empty, cleared by the association 6 months ago. Mi-ri peers over her shoulder. She asks what's happening. Seo-jun pushes himself upright. His legs are still shaking, but his eyes are sharp. He says there's a 4th fragment. It just woke up, and if he can see it, the subjugators can too. Soo-yeon is already calculating. She says they have maybe 12 hours before Min sends a retrieval team, maybe less. She tells Seo-jun he's in no condition to raid anything. He just spent 3 hours burning through his reserves. Mi-ri grabs his arm. She agrees. She says he can barely stand. Seo-jun looks at them both. He says he doesn't have the luxury of rest. His brother died trying to stop Min. He won't let that sacrifice mean nothing. Soo-yeon's jaw tightens. She says he sounds just like Ji-ho. That's not a compliment. It's a warning. Seo-jun says he'll take that risk. The fragment's hum is a steady drumbeat now. The integration counter ticks. 13%. Seo-jun doesn't argue anymore. He just nods. The 2 women exchange a look. Neither of them likes it. Soo-yeon's jaw is tight enough to crack teeth. Mi-ri's grip on his arm hasn't loosened. He gently pulls free. His legs are still shaking, but his voice is steady. He tells them he's going. Alone. Soo-yeon opens her mouth to shut that down, but Seo-jun is already talking. He says the subjugators have 3 fragments already. If Min gets a 4th, the gap becomes impossible to close. He can't wait for backup. He can't wait for a strike team. He can't wait for morning. The fragment is awake now, and awake means findable. Soo-yeon's silence is louder than any objection she could make. She knows he's right. She hates that he's right. Miri isn't as willing to accept it. She steps in front of him, blocks the door. Her eyes are wet. She says he's going to get himself killed. He's running on fumes. He can barely stand. One ambush and he's done. Seo-jun doesn't look away from her. He says he knows. Then he says, please move. Something in his voice makes her step aside. It's not anger. It's not arrogance. It's the sound of someone who's already made peace with the worst-case scenario. Soo-yeon hands him a small black earpiece. She says the range is 3 kilometers. If he gets into trouble, she'll hear it. She won't be far behind. He clips it into his ear. Then he walks out. The night air hits his face like a cold slap. His bike is where he left it. The engine sputters twice before catching. He pulls out of the academy parking lot. The map on his glitching phone recalibrates. 20 kilometers. He guns it. The industrial district is dead at this hour. Streetlights flicker over empty loading docks. The factory complex looms ahead. It's massive. 3 buildings arranged in a broken horseshoe. Chain-link fencing surrounds the perimeter. Rusted, torn in places. A sign hangs crooked over the main gate. It reads, Hanwoo Precision Machining, closed 6 years ago. Seo-jun kills the engine 2 blocks out. He walks the rest of the way. His mana sense pulses outward. Blue ripples wash over the compound. The first thing he clocks is the silence. No birds, no rats, no insects. The air is wrong, heavy, like pressure before a storm. He slips through a gap in the fence. The main assembly floor is straight ahead. A huge corrugated steel building. Roll-up doors sealed with rust. He finds a side entrance. The lock has already been cut. Recently, the edges of the cut are still shiny. Someone got here first. He pushes the door open. Inside is a cathedral of dead machinery, conveyor belts coated in dust, overhead cranes frozen mid-rail. The floor is a maze of abandoned workstations. And at the center, a gate. It's small, maybe 4 meters across. Purple light pulses weakly along its rim. This one isn't sealed with amber. It's cracked. Like something is forcing it open from the inside. The fragment in his chest surges. 14%. He approaches. The hum turns into a voice. Not words, images. 7 pedestals in a circle. 6 empty, 1 occupied. The 4th fragment is here. He steps through. The transition is instant and violent. No gradual fade. 1 second he's in a factory, the next he's in a cavern. The ceiling is lost in shadow. The walls are wet black stone. Glowing purple veins run through the rock like arteries. The air smells of ozone and rot. His mana sense floods outward and immediately screams danger. There are people here. 6 of them. Spread in a semicircle around the cavern entrance. Hired muscle. C rank at best, but well armed. One of them has a detection orb. It flares bright blue the moment Seo-jun's feet touch stone. The man shouts. They were waiting. Of course they were waiting. The ambush is already sprung. A blade comes at Seo-jun's throat from the left. He ducks. The fragment energy fires into his legs. He launches backward. 3 throwing knives shatter against the stone where he was standing. He rolls behind a rock formation, takes a breath. The hired hunters are already fanning out. He hears boots on gravel. He hears weapons cycling. One of them laughs and calls out. He tells the little hunter to come out and make it easy. Says the pay is the same either way. Seo-jun closes his eyes. His mana reserves are a shallow puddle. But shallow is still wet. He reaches for a skill he copied weeks ago. The basic reinforcement technique. Shimmering mana coats his skin. His muscles tighten. His bones harden. He steps out from behind the rock and moves. The first hunter doesn't even see him coming. Seo-jun closes the distance in 2 heartbeats. His fist connects with the man's jaw. Reinforced knuckles meet unguarded bone. The hunter drops, lights out. The second one spins, brings up a crossbow. Seo-jun's already inside his reach. He grabs the weapon, redirects it. The bolt sinks into the 3rd hunter's thigh. The man screams. Seo-jun's elbow catches the crossbow wielder in the temple. He crumples. 3 down, 3 left. The 4th hunter is smarter. He hangs back, chants something under his breath. A fireball sparks to life between his palms. Seo-jun doesn't have the mana to block it, so he doesn't. He sprints laterally. The fireball detonates against a stone pillar. Shrapnel peppers his back. He ignores it. His hand finds a chunk of loose rock. He hurls it, not at the caster, at the detection orb in the 5th hunter's grip. The orb shatters. Blue sparks spray everywhere. Caster loses sight of him in the flash. Big mistake. Seo-jun is already on him. A reinforced knee drives into his gut. The caster folds. The fire dies in his hands. The 5th hunter bolts for the exit. Seo-jun lets him go. The sixth one is the problem. He's been waiting, watching, and when he finally moves, Seo-jun recognizes the stance. Choi Ki-hyun, our boy's ex-friend, the subjugator's favorite rat. He's holding a blade that crackles with green energy. His smile is all teeth. He says he was hoping Seo-jun would come alone. Made this so much easier. Seo-jun doesn't answer. He's too busy scanning the cavern. The fragment is close. He can feel it. A second chamber, behind the rock wall to his left. Choi sees him looking. He laughs, says Seo-jun won't make it that far. Then he attacks. His speed is vicious. 3 slashes in the span of a breath. Seo-jun dodges the first, deflects the second with a reinforced forearm. The third clips his shoulder. Blood sprays. Seo-jun staggers. Choi presses the advantage. He's not toying around this time. Every strike is lethal. Every angle is meant to end it. His blade's green energy leaves smoking trails in the air. Seo-jun backpedals. His mana is almost gone. Reinforcement is flickering. His copied mana sense is down to a 20-meter radius. Not enough. Then Choi does something stupid. He gloats. He says Seo-jun's brother was the same. All potential, no survival instinct. Says Ji-ho begged at the end. Seo-jun's vision goes red. Not from rage. From the fragment. It surges. 15%. A flood of golden light pours through his meridians. His exhaustion vanishes. His wounds stop bleeding. The hum becomes a roar. Choi's smirk falters. He asks what the hell is happening. Seo-jun raises his hand and watches. Watches the way Choi's mana coils around his blade. Watches the pattern of the energy, the shape of the technique. The blueprint burns into his mind. Blade Storm. Choi's signature skill. 3 seconds later, Seo-jun has it. He tells Choi he should have kept his mouth shut. Then he uses it. Golden mana explodes from his palm. It shapes itself into a spinning vortex of cutting energy. Not green like Choi's. Gold. Brighter. Sharper. Choi's eyes go wide. He tries to counter with his own blade storm. The two techniques collide. The cavern shakes. Choi's green vortex shatters like glass. Seo-jun's golden storm rips through. It catches Choi across the chest. Not deep enough to kill. Deep enough to end the fight. He slams into the stone wall. Slumps. His pendant glints at his throat. The dimensional shift rune flickers. Choi's hand twitches toward it. Seo-jun is faster. He rips the pendant off the chain, crushes it under his heel. Silver dust scatters across the stone. Choi stares at the remains. His escape route just evaporated. He starts to say something. Maybe a threat. Maybe a plea. It doesn't matter. A voice cuts through the cavern like a blade through silk. It says, "That's enough." Seo-jun freezes. The voice is calm, almost pleasant. And it belongs to Min Jae-won. He steps out of the shadows at the far end of the cavern. Tall. Immaculate. 2 fragments burn in his chest like twin furnaces. His presence is suffocating. The air thickens. The purple veins in the rock pulse faster. Seo-jun's fragment screams a warning. Min's smile is gentle. He says Seo-jun has grown quickly, faster than expected, faster than Ji-ho. The name hits like a hammer. Seo-jun's fists clench. Min keeps walking, casual, unhurried. He says Ji-ho had the same fire, the same stubbornness, and the same tragic flaw. He cared too much. About his brother, about his comrades, about a world that was never going to thank him. Min stops 10 meters away. He tilts his head, says he has something Seo-jun might want to see. He raises his hand. Purple light coils around his fingers. Then he pulls. The rock wall to Seo-jun's left shatters. Behind it is the fragment chamber. 7 pedestals in a circle. Just like the vision. 6 are empty. On the 7th sits the 4th fragment. A pulsing golden orb the size of a fist. Seo-jun lunges for it. Min doesn't move. He doesn't need to. The moment Seo-jun's fingers close around the fragment, Min's other hand snaps forward. A tendril of purple energy lashes out. Not at Seo-jun, at the space between the pedestals. It rips through something invisible. Something Seo-jun can't see until it's too late. A soul tether, thin as spider silk, glowing faintly blue, and at the end of it, a figure. Translucent, flickering, but unmistakable. Ahn Ji-ho. Seo-jun's hand stops. The fragment is inches from his grip. His brother's soul hangs suspended in the air. Min's voice is almost kind. He says Ji-ho has been with him for 2 years now. Not dead, not alive, just kept. He says the soul extraction chambers were never just about draining power. They were about storage, about leverage, about making sure no one ever truly escaped the subjugators. Seo-jun can't breathe. His brother's face is frozen, eyes closed, expression peaceful, like he's sleeping. Min's tendril tightens around the tether. Ji-ho's image flickers. Pain crosses his features. Even unconscious, he feels it. Min says the fourth fragment is right there. Seo-jun can take it. He'll be stronger. Much stronger. But the moment he touches it, Min snaps the tether. And Ji-ho's soul unravels. Forever. Seo-jun's hand hovers, shaking. One fragment. One chance. His brother's existence balanced against infinite power. Min waits. Patient as a spider, his smile never wavers. Then Seo-jun pulls his hand back. He steps away from the pedestal. Min's eyebrow rises. He says that's surprising. Most hunters would have taken it. Power is power. Seo-jun says he's not most hunters. Min laughs. It's a dry sound. He says no. He supposes he isn't. Then he attacks. Seo-jun never sees the blow coming. One moment he's standing, the next he's airborne. Min's strike hits with the force of a collapsing building. His reinforcement shatters instantly. He crashes into a pillar. Stone cracks around him. Blood fills his mouth. Min hasn't even moved from his spot. The tendril still holds Ji-ho's soul. He's doing this one-handed. Seo-jun tries to rise. His legs don't work right. Something is broken. The fragment in his chest pulses desperately. 16%. It's not enough. Not nearly enough. Min walks toward him. Not fast. Not slow. Inevitable. He crouches beside Seo-jun's broken body. His voice drops to a murmur. He says, Seo-jun has been an interesting variable, but variables are meant to be eliminated. He reaches down. His fingers press against Seo-jun's chest. Right over the fragment, purple light floods Seo-jun's vision. Pain like nothing he's ever felt. The fragment is screaming. Min is trying to extract it. Rip it out of him while he's still alive. Seo-jun's hand claws at Min's wrist. Useless. His strength is gone. Min says he'll keep him alive, like Ji-ho. A bargaining chip. A trophy. His fingers sink deeper. Seo-jun feels the fragment begin to separate from his soul. Then the earpiece crackles. Soo-yeon's voice. She says she's 2 minutes out. Miri is with her. Min pauses. He hears it too. His smile finally dims. He says it seems their time is up. He stands. The extraction stops. Seo-jun gasps. The fragment slams back into place. 17%. Min snaps his fingers. A portal tears open behind him, purple and black. The tendril holding Ji-ho's soul reels back into his palm. He pockets the tether like a loose coin. He says they'll meet again. Soon. When Seo-jun has all 7 fragments, because Min intends to take them all at once. Then he steps through. The portal closes. Choi Ki-hyun is still on the ground, bleeding, unconscious. The 4th fragment glows on its pedestal, unguarded. Seo-jun drags himself toward it. Every inch is agony. His arm reaches. His fingers close around the orb. Golden light floods the cavern. The fragment sinks into his chest. 2 fragments now burn inside him. Integration spikes. 18%. The cavern shakes. The gate is collapsing now that the fragment is gone. Chunks of stone fall from the ceiling. Seo-jun can't move. His body is wrecked beyond function. Then the entrance explodes. Not from the collapse, from a moonlight slash. Soo-yeon tears through the rock wall like it's paper. Miri is right behind her. Golden healing light already streaming from her palms. She drops to her knees beside him. Her hands press against his chest. Warmth floods through him. Bones knit. Bleeding stops. Her face is pale with concentration. She tells him to stay awake. Tells him he's not allowed to die. Not now. Not ever. Soo-yeon scans the cavern. Sees the shattered pendant. Sees Choi unconscious against the wall. Sees the empty pedestal. She asks if Min was here. Seo-jun can only nod. His voice is a rasp. He tells her Min has Ji-ho's soul. Soo-yeon's expression doesn't change. But something behind her eyes goes very cold. She hauls him upright. Miri supports his other side. Together, they drag him toward the exit. The cavern collapses behind them. They emerge into the factory just as the roof caves in. Dust and debris billow into the night sky. Seo-jun is barely conscious. 2 fragments, 2 of 7. His brother's soul is a prisoner. Min knows exactly what he's capable of, and the integration counter is still climbing. Soo-yeon doesn't waste a second. She hauls Seo-jun's broken body over her shoulder like he weighs nothing. Miri keeps her healing light pressed against his chest the whole way out. The factory roof comes down behind them in a thunder of steel and concrete. They reach Soo-yeon's black SUV, engine already running. Miri climbs into the back seat first, guiding Seo-jun's head onto her lap. Her golden glow doesn't stop. Not for a single second. Soo-yeon tears out of the complex, tires screaming on cracked asphalt. She's driving one-handed, the other hand on her phone. Her voice is ice when she calls someone and says they need the safe house. Now, whoever's on the other end doesn't argue. 20 minutes later, they pull into an underground garage beneath a building with no signage. The safe house isn't fancy. Concrete walls, medical cot, supply cabinets bolt into the floor. A middle-aged woman in scrubs is already waiting. She doesn't ask questions. Miri transfers Seo-jun to the cot, while Soo-yeon seals the entrance behind them. The healer's golden light pulses brighter now. She's pouring everything she has into him. Bones are knitting. Internal bleeding is stopping. But his eyes stay closed. The woman in scrubs checks his vitals and mutters something about severe mana shock. Miri's face is pale as paper. She says his body is healing, but his mind is somewhere else. Somewhere deep. Soo-yeon stands against the wall with her arms crossed. She hasn't spoken since the call. Her jaw is tight enough to crack teeth. Miri finally pulls her hands back, gasping. The golden light fades. She says she's done everything she can. The rest is up to him. Soo-yeon asks how long. Miri doesn't know. Could be hours. Could be days. Could be never. That last word hangs in the air like a blade. The woman in scrubs hooks Seo-jun to a mana monitor. The readings are chaos. His signature spikes and crashes every few seconds. 2 fragments inside him are pulsing at different rhythms, like 2 hearts beating out of sync. Miri slumps into a chair, exhaustion finally claiming her. Soo-yeon still doesn't move. She just watches the monitor, watches the spikes, watches the crashes, and waits. The first day passes in silence. Seo-jun doesn't move, doesn't twitch, doesn't dream. His body is a shell on the cot. But inside his skull, something is happening. The god's voice is back. Not loud, not angry, just a whisper, low and constant, like a radio left on in another room. It speaks in images more than words. Vast, empty spaces between stars. Thrones made of dying suns. 7 fragments scattered across a dead world. 7 pieces of a puzzle waiting to be assembled. Seo-jun floats in the darkness and watches. He can't look away. The god shows him what full power looks like. What it felt like to shape reality with a thought. What it meant to be worshipped by civilizations that have since turned to dust. The voice doesn't threaten him, doesn't command him. It just offers power enough to crush Min Jae-won. Power enough to tear the subjugators apart. Power enough to save Ji-ho. All he has to do is let the fragments finish their work. Let the integration complete. Let the god walk again. His body on the cot remains still, but his heart rate climbs. 4 times the monitor screams an alarm before Miri wakes and stabilizes him. She doesn't know what he's fighting. Neither does Soo-yeon. But they both feel it. Something in the room. Something vast and old and patient, watching them through closed eyes. The second day, Miri finally sleeps. Soo-yeon takes the chair beside the cot. She stares at Seo-jun's face, at the faint purple veins visible beneath his eyelids, at the way his fingers twitch every few minutes like he's reaching for something. She speaks quietly. Not to him, to Ji-ho. She says she failed him again. She says she should have been faster. She says Min was right there and she couldn't stop him. Her voice doesn't break. It doesn't even waver. But her knuckles are white on the armrest. An hour later, she stands and walks to the other side of the room. When she comes back, her eyes are dry, and her expression is harder than before. On the third day, Seo-jun opens his eyes. No warning. No gradual waking. 1 second he's unconscious. The next, he's staring at the ceiling. Purple light flickers in his irises for half a heartbeat. Then it's gone. Miri nearly falls out of her chair. She's at his side instantly, golden light already streaming from her palms. She asks how he feels. He doesn't answer right away. His voice when it comes is a rasp. He says he can hear it, the god, whispering. Miri's healing light intensifies, but there's nothing to fix. This isn't an injury. Soo-yeon moves to the foot of the cot. She asks what the god is saying. Seo-jun turns his head slowly, too slowly. He says it wants him to take the rest of the fragments. It wants to be whole again, and it's telling him how. That gets everyone's attention. Miri stops healing. Soo-yeon's eyes narrow. Seo-jun pushes himself upright. His body still aches, but the bones are solid again. 2 fragments burn in his chest. Integration is at 22%. It climbed while he was out. He swings his legs off the cot and stands. His legs hold. Barely. He asks about Choi. Soo-yeon says he's in Hunter Association custody. The pendant was destroyed. Min got away clean. Seo-jun expected that. What he doesn't expect is what Soo-yeon says next. She tells him they're not doing this alone anymore. No more solo raids. No more running off to abandoned factories. Miri steps up beside her. She's still pale from 3 days of healing, but her chin is up and her eyes are steady. She says she's in, whatever it takes. Soo-yeon says the same. No hestation, no conditions. Seo-jun looks at them both. Two women who have no reason to stay. A defector with a dead man's ghost between them. A healer who could walk away and never look back. Neither of them moves. He says he doesn't know how long this will take. Soo-yeon says she doesn't care. Miri says she's not going anywhere. And just like that, the weight on his chest gets a little lighter. Not gone. Never gone. But shared. That afternoon, a visitor arrives. The safe house door unseals, and a man in his 60s steps inside. Gray hair slicked back. Expensive suit. Cane with a silver wolf's head. He moves like someone who hasn't needed to fight in decades but remembers how. Soo-yeon introduces him. No Jin-ho, guild master of the Crimson Fang, one of the top 5 guilds in the country, and one of the few people who knows the truth about the subjugators. The old man surveys the room, takes in the medical cot, the monitor, the exhaustion on 3 young faces. He says they look like hell. Then he sits in the only comfortable chair and crosses his legs. He says he's been watching Seo-jun for weeks now. The ranking test that broke the machine, the mock dungeon record, the factory gate that collapsed. Word travels fast in the hunter world. He says Seo-jun has something the subjugators want. That makes him valuable. That makes him dangerous. And that makes him worth investing in. Seo-jun doesn't trust easily. He asks what kind of investment. No Jin-ho smiles. It's not a warm expression. He says resources, training facilities, intelligence on subjugator movements, access to gates that aren't on the association registry. In exchange for what? No Jin-ho's smile doesn't waver. He says future favors. Nothing specific yet. Just a promise that when the time comes, Seo-jun will remember who helped him. Soo-yeon watches the exchange without interrupting. Miri fidgets beside the cot. Seo-jun thinks about it. Every ally makes them stronger. Every resource buys them time. And time is the one thing they don't have. Min is out there with Ji-ho's soul and 2 fragments of his own. He nods. Have a deal. No Jin-ho stands and taps his cane against the floor. A data chip slides out of the wolf's head. He says that's everything his guild knows about the subjugators' main base. Location, defenses, patrol schedules. He says they'll also have access to his private training facility. The old man pauses at the door. He says one more thing. Min Jae-won isn't just collecting fragments for power. He's trying to rebuild the god from scratch. And if he succeeds, he won't stop at this world. The god's original domain spanned dimensions. 7 fragments made it a ruler of reality. Min wants that throne. No Jin-ho leaves. The door seals behind him. The room feels smaller, colder. Soo-yeon breaks the silence first. She says they need to train, harder than before. Seo-jun agrees, but there's a problem. The god's voice is getting louder. Every time he uses his power, integration climbs. 22% now. He doesn't know what happens at 100, but he can guess. Soo-yeon says that's what they'll train first. Not new skills, not copied techniques. Control. Resisting the influence. She calls it soul union, a technique she saw once. Years ago, a hunter who had been possessed by a dungeon entity learned to wrestle control back. Not by fighting the entity, by merging with it, temporarily, on his own terms. It nearly killed him. But he survived, and he kept his mind intact. Seo-jun asks if it's possible with a god fragment. Soo-yeon says they're about to find out. They move to No Jin-ho's private training facility the next morning. The place is a fortress, underground, reinforced walls, mana suppression arrays etched into every surface. No one gets in or out without clearance. The training hall is 100 meters across, empty except for the 3 of them. Soo-yeon faces Seo-jun across the polished stone floor. She says the technique is simple in theory. Let the god rise. Let it take partial control. But hold one piece of himself back. A single memory. A single anchor. Something the god can't touch. Seo-jun asks what happens if he loses that anchor. Soo-yeon says he won't come back. Miri is in the observation room above. Can't interfere. Can't heal. She's there to watch. And to call for help if everything goes wrong. The god's voice is already there. Waiting. He opens the door. Just a crack. Purple light explodes from his chest. His eyes snap open, but they're not his anymore. They glow with the color of dead stars. The temperature in the room drops 20 degrees. Soo-yeon doesn't flinch. She calls his name. Not the god's. His. Something flickers in those purple eyes. Confusion. Recognition. Seo-jun's lips move. His voice and the god's voice come out together. 2 tones layered over each other. He says he can feel it trying to take everything. Soo-yeon tells him to find the anchor. Hold it. She says, think of Ji-ho, his brother's face, his laugh, the journal he left behind. Seo-jun's body convulses. The purple light pulses, but it doesn't spread. A golden thread appears in the center of that purple glow. Thin, fragile, but holding. Seo-jun's real voice cuts through. He says he can hear him. Ji-ho. Somewhere in the dark. Soo-yeon steps closer. She says to follow that thread. Follow it back. The purple light fights. It screams without sound. The room shakes. Observation windows crack. But Seo-jun's eyes are changing. The purple is receding, pushed back by gold. He collapses to his knees, panting, sweating, human. Soo-yeon is beside him before he hits the floor. He looks up at her. His eyes are his own again. Integration at 25%. But he's still here, still in control. He says he can do this. He can learn to use the god's power without losing himself. Soo-yeon helps him stand. Her hand lingers on his arm. Miri bursts through the observation room door. She's pale and furious, and she grabs Seo-jun's face in both hands. Golden light floods through him, checking for damage, checking for possession. Her voice shakes when she says not to scare her like that again. Then she hugs him, fierce and brief. Soo-yeon watches with an unreadable expression. Seo-jun says they're going to need more practice, lots more. Soo-yeon says they have 2 weeks. No Jin-ho's intelligence suggests the subjugators are preparing something big. A ritual. At their main base, inside a god-level gate that's been locked for 3 years. If Min succeeds, he walks out with enough power to take every fragment at once, including the 2 inside Seo-jun. They train for 4 hours, then 8, then 12. Every session pushes the integration higher. Ha-jun %, Unwoo. The god's voice never goes silent, but Seo-jun gets better at ignoring it. The anchor gets stronger. Ji-ho's face, his voice, the promise Seo-jun made to find him no matter what. It's enough. For now. Miri trains beside him. She's not just a healer. No Jin-ho's facility has combat dummies, and she spends hours learning to weave offensive spells into her healing aura. Soo-yeon drills them both without mercy. Her Moonlight Slash gets sharper every day. Miri's golden bolts can now punch through reinforced steel. And Seo-jun learns to use Soul Union on command. Not fully, never fully, but enough. Enough to tap the god's power for 10 seconds at a time. Enough to move faster than Soo-yeon can track. Enough to break a training dummy into dust with a single strike. The cost is high. Every use sends integration climbing. Every use makes the voice a little louder, but it's their only shot. On the 11th day, Seo-jun challenges Soo-yeon to a real spar. No holding back. She accepts. Miri watches from the observation room. Soo-yeon activates her full reinforcement. Silver aura blazes around her like cold fire. She moves first. Moonlight Slash arcs across the training floor fast enough to bisect steel. Seo-jun activates Soul Union. 10 seconds. Purple and gold explode from his chest. He sidesteps the slash and closes the distance. Soo-yeon's eyes widen. She tries to adjust. Too slow. His palm stops an inch from her throat. The purple light flickers. His eyes shift. The god's voice surges. For one heartbeat, he almost pushes through. Almost takes the kill. Then he pulls back. Soul Union collapses. Integration at 30%. He's on his knees, gasping. Soo-yeon is frozen. Her hand is raised to block. She would have been too late. She stares at him. Then she says, he almost lost himself that time. He knows. She says, they're done with Soul Union until the mission. It's too dangerous. He doesn't argue. On the 13th day, no Jin-ho returns. He brings a map. The subjugator main base is inside a sealed god-level gate beneath the ruins of an old temple. 60 kilometers north. The gate has been locked for 3 years. Only subjugator command staff can open it. They'll need to capture one of Min's lieutenants to get through. No Jin-ho says there's a supply convoy moving through the northern pass tomorrow night. 4 vehicles. 1 lieutenant in the lead car. That's their target. Seo-jun looks at the map, then at Soo-yeon, then at Miri. 2 weeks of training, 2 fragments in his chest. His brother's soul trapped by a monster who wants to become a god. He says they leave at dawn. The integration counter is still climbing, but so is he. The map leads them 60 kilometers north. 2 weeks of planning collapse into a single night operation under a moonless sky. The convoy runs quiet through the mountain pass at 3 in the morning. 4 black SUVs snake along the cliffside road with their headlights dimmed. Our boy crouches behind a rock outcropping and watches the lead vehicle approach. Soo-yeon is 50 meters up the slope with moonlight gathered in her palm. Miri waits behind the second switchback with golden threads already woven between her fingers. The plan is simple and brutal and has about 12 ways to go wrong. Seo-jun counts down from 10 in his head. At 3, Soo-yeon releases the Moonlight Slash. The arc of silver energy doesn't hit the convoy. It hits the cliff face above them. 30 tons of rock and frozen earth come down on the second vehicle. The third SUV swerves and flips onto its side with a screech of tearing metal. Seo-jun activates Soul Union for 5 seconds flat. His body blurs purple and gold, and he covers the distance to the lead car before the driver can blink. His reinforced fist goes through the window and grabs the lieutenant by the collar. The man tries to scream, and Seo-jun pulls him through the glass. Soo-yeon drops from the slope and lands on the fourth vehicle's hood. Her blade goes through the roof and stops an inch from the driver's throat. Miri's golden bolts punch through the tires of the rear SUV before anyone inside can open a door. The whole thing takes 14 seconds. The lieutenant is a thin man with a shaved head and a scar across his left eye. Seo-jun holds him against the overturned SUV and asks him how to open the gate. The man laughs and says nothing. Soo-yeon steps closer, and the temperature drops. She tells him she used to work for Min, and she knows exactly what happens to failures. The lieutenant stops laughing. He gives them a code cylinder from inside his jacket and says the gate opens with his biometrics and the cylinder combines. Seo-jun knocks him out with a precise strike to the temple. Miri asks if they're really going to drag a prisoner 60 kilometers north. Soo-yeon says the trunk has space. They reach the old temple ruins just before dawn. The structure is half collapsed and covered in moss, and the air tastes like copper. Stone pillars rise from the earth at angles that make no sense. At the center of the ruins, a massive gate looms in the darkness. It's 50 meters across and frozen solid inside a barrier of black crystal. Purple veins pulse through the crystal like a heartbeat. The lieutenant is awake and terrified, and Seo-jun holds the cylinder against the barrier. The black crystal cracks and splits, and the gate groans open. What's on the other side isn't a dungeon. It's a fortress. Walls of fused obsidian rise 100 meters high with watchtowers every 50 meters. Purple torches burn along the ramparts and illuminate banners marked with the subjugator sigil. Seo-jun steps through first, and his mana sense screams a warning. At least 300 signatures inside the walls. Most are low level, but there are 12 A ranks and something else deeper in that he can't read at all. Soo-yeon says the temple entrance is on the south side. They move fast and quiet through the outer grounds. The cultists patrolling the perimeter wear black robes with hoods and carry staves that glow with suppressed purple light. Seo-jun watches one of them cast a detection spell, and his fragment feeds him the blueprint. Suppression magic designed to lock down a target's mana flow. Nasty stuff. He copies it in 2 seconds and tests it on the next guard they encounter. The man's staff flickers and dies, and he stares at his hands in confusion before Soo-yeon puts him down. They find the temple entrance behind a collapsed archway covered in vines that shouldn't be growing inside a sealed dimension. The stairs descend into darkness. Miri lights a golden orb in her palm, and the shadows retreat. The walls are carved with images of the ancient god. 7 figures kneeling before a central throne. 7 fragments being ripped from a dying body. Seo-jun's chest pulses, and the voice gets louder. It recognizes this place. Soo-yeon grabs his arm and tells him to stay focused. He nods, and they keep moving. The stairs open into a massive chamber, and what they see stops all 3 of them cold. Crystals line the walls from floor to ceiling, hundreds of them. Inside each crystal, a hunter's soul writhes in silent agony. Their faces are frozen in expressions of terror and pain and desperate pleading. Seo-jun walks forward like he's in a trance. The whispers from the crystals overlap into a chorus of the damned. Miri covers her mouth, and her golden light flickers. Soo-yeon's face is pale and hard, and she says, they knew this was here, but seeing it is different. Seo-jun scans the crystals one by one. His mana sense searches for a signature he's memorized from a worn leather journal and a fading photograph. He finds it at the far end of the chamber. The crystal is larger than the others and glowing with a sick purple light. Inside, Ahn Ji-ho's soul hangs suspended. His eyes are closed, and his features are exactly as Seo-jun remembers them from 5 years ago. The same jawline and the same scar above his left eyebrow, and the same expression of stubborn defiance, even in captivity. Seo-jun presses his palm against the crystal, and the fragment in his chest howls. The god wants its missing piece, and it wants it now. Integration jumps from 30% to 33% in a single heartbeat. Soo-yeon yanks him back and says if he touches that crystal again, he won't come back. Seo-jun's voice comes out layered with 2 tones, and he says he has to free his brother. Miri steps between him and the crystal, and her hands glow gold. She tells him they'll find another way, but he can't do it like this. The argument dies before it starts. Because someone claps slowly from the shadows at the chamber's far end. Min Jae-won steps into the purple light with a smile that doesn't reach his eyes. He says he was wondering when our boy would show up, and he's impressed by how far Seo-jun has come. 3 dark fragments orbit his chest in a slow circle. Their glow is deeper and older than anything Seo-jun has felt before. Min says he's been waiting for this reunion for 2 years, and he thanks Seo-jun for bringing the remaining fragments right to his doorstep. Seo-jun doesn't waste time on words. He activates Soul Union and launches himself across the chamber with speed that shatters the stone floor beneath him. His fist connects with Min's guard, and the impact shakes the entire room. Min blocks it with one hand, and his smile doesn't waver. He says, Seo-jun is faster than before, but speed isn't everything. The 3 fragments around Min's chest pulse, and a wave of purple energy throws Seo-jun across the chamber. He crashes through 2 crystals and hits the far wall hard enough to crack the obsidian. Miri screams his name, and golden light floods the room. Her healing aura wraps around Seo-jun and knits his cracked ribs back together. Soo-yeon doesn't hesitate. She activates her full reinforcement, and silver aura blazes around her like a star going nova. Her Moonlight Slash cuts across the chamber with enough force to split a mountain. Min catches it with 2 fingers, and the energy dissipates into nothing. He says he taught her that technique, and she should know better than to use it against him. Soo-yeon's face twists with rage, and she launches herself at him with her blade leading. Min moves faster than either of them can track. His palm strikes her chest, and Soo-yeon crumples with blood spraying from her mouth. She hits the ground and doesn't get up. Seo-jun sees red. Soul Union activates fully, and the god's voice floods his mind with promises of power and destruction. Purple and gold energy explodes from his body, and his eyes shift to something inhuman. Integration hits 38% in an instant. He crosses the distance to Min in less than a heartbeat, and his reinforced fist catches the man across the jaw. Min actually staggers. The smile finally drops from his face, and he looks at Seo-jun with something like interest. He says the boy might actually be a threat after all. The 3 fragments around Min spin faster, and dark energy gathers in his palm. Seo-jun doesn't care. He's done holding back. His copied blade storm ignites in his right hand, and Moonlight Slash forms in his left. He combines them into something that shouldn't exist. A spinning vortex of silver-cutting energy wrapped in golden lightning. He throws it at Min with a scream that's half his voice and half the god's. Min meets the attack with his own gathered power, and the collision blows out every crystal in the chamber. Hunter's souls scatter like startled birds, and the pressure drops so fast that Miri's healing aura flickers and dies. She throws herself over Soo-yeon's body to shield her from the shockwave. When the light clears, Min is still standing, but his robes are torn, and there's blood running from his nose. Seo-jun is on one knee with his body shaking, and the god's voice screaming for more. Integration is at 42% and climbing. Min wipes the blood from his nose and says, Seo-jun is more interesting than he expected. Then he raises his hand, and the soul extraction chamber activates. Every crystal still intact flares with purple light, and the trapped souls begin to scream in unison. Min says he's going to take every fragment Seo-jun has, and then use the collected souls to complete the ritual. He's going to become the new god, and there's nothing our boy can do to stop him. Miri looks up from where she's crouched over Soo-yeon, and her eyes meet Seo-jun's. She shouts that they need resonance. Seo-jun doesn't understand until her golden light reaches out and touches his fragment. Soo-yeon's silver aura joins it a heartbeat later, despite her injuries. The 3 energies weave together into something new, gold and silver, and the purple gold of Seo-jun's fragment. The resonance spell Miri and Soo-yeon practiced during those 2 weeks of training locks into place. Seo-jun feels the god's voice recede. Not gone, but quieted, controlled. His eyes clear, and integration holds steady at 42%. He looks at Min and says the man made one mistake 2 years ago. Min raises an eyebrow and asks what that would be. Seo-jun says Min should have killed Jiho instead of keeping his soul as leverage. Because now Seo-jun knows exactly where his brother is, and he's taking him back. The resonance spell amplifies his power beyond anything he's managed before. Seo-jun doesn't activate Soul Union this time. He doesn't need to. His own strength and the resonance of his allies and the anchor of his brother's face are enough. He moves faster than Min can react, and his fist punches through the crystal containing Jiho's soul. The purple prison shatters, and the soul inside blazes with silver light. Jiho's eyes open. For one heartbeat, the brothers look at each other across 5 years of death and grief and desperate hope. Then Min snarls, and the 3 fragments around him detonate with dark energy. The chamber collapses, and the ceiling comes down. And when the dust clears, Min is gone. A portal flickers and dies where he stood. He took the 3 fragments and escaped. But Jiho's soul hovers in the center of the ruined chamber. Free. Seo-jun reaches out, and the silver light wraps around his hand like a promise. The resonance spell breaks, and Soo-yeon collapses fully, with blood still leaking from her mouth. Miri rushes to her side, and golden light floods the room again. Seo-jun holds his brother's soul in his cupped hands, and feels something he hasn't felt in 5 years. Hope. The integration counter in his chest ticks up to 45%. The god is still there, and still hungry, and still waiting. But right now, with Jiho's light against his skin, and Miri's healing glow filling the chamber, and Soo-yeon's stubborn heartbeat refusing to stop, Seo-jun lets himself breathe. The war isn't over. Min has 3 fragments and a head start, and a ritual that could end everything. But Seo-jun has his brother back and 2 allies who just proved they'll follow him into hell itself. He looks at the ruined chamber and the scattered souls, and the distant ceiling where the gate still pulses with frozen purple light. Then he says they're going after Min, tonight, before the ritual can be completed. Soo-yeon forces herself upright with Miri's help, and her voice is ragged but steady. She says she knows where Min went. The ritual chamber is beneath the fortress, deep in the heart of the god-level gate. They have maybe an hour before Min activates the soul extraction array and becomes untouchable. Seo-jun nods and tucks his brother's soul close to his chest. The silver light merges with his fragment, and for the first time, the god's voice doesn't scream in response. It goes quiet. Waiting. Integration holds at 45%, and the anchor is stronger than ever. He looks at Soo-yeon and Miri and tells them this ends tonight, one way or another. The 3 of them walk out of the shattered chamber and into the fortress's depths, with the echoes of trapped souls fading behind them. The 3 of them stagger out of the temple entrance, and the whole fortress is shaking. Massive cracks race up the obsidian walls, and purple torches flicker and die. Soo-yeon's arm is draped over Miri's shoulder, and blood still leaks from the corner of her mouth. Seo-jun's chest glows with a steady silver light where Jiho's soul merged with his fragment. They don't have an hour anymore. The extraction chamber's collapse triggered something deeper in the fortress, and the entire structure is coming apart. Miri shouts that the gate is destabilizing. Seo-jun looks up and sees the frozen purple light at the top of the barrier starting to fracture. Black lightning arcs across the sky, and the ground splits open beneath their feet. They run. Soo-yeon forces herself upright, despite the injury, and her silver aura flares around her legs for speed. The 3 of them clear the outer grounds just as the first watchtower topples sideways and crushes a row of barracks. Seo-jun's mana sense is barely functional, but he pushes the last 20 meters of range to its limit. The gate is 50 meters ahead, and the exit shimmer is flickering like a dying bulb. He grabs Miri's wrist and pulls her forward, while Soo-yeon cuts down a chunk of falling debris with a half-formed Moonlight Slash. They dive through the gate. Cold air hits Seo-jun's face, and he lands hard on wet grass. The gate behind them cracks in half. Purple light explodes outward, and the entire structure folds in on itself with a sound like a screaming animal. Then silence. Seo-jun rolls onto his back and stares at the gray pre-dawn sky. Miri is already on her knees, with golden light pouring from both hands into Soo-yeon's chest. Soo-yeon's breathing is shallow but steady. Her silver aura flickers once and stabilizes. They're in the mountain range where this nightmare started. The massive gate that was frozen in amber is gone. Just a crater of black glass 100 meters across, and the smell of burnt ozone hanging in the air. Seo-jun tries to stand, and his legs don't cooperate. The resonance spell is gone, and the god's voice is quiet, but integration is still at 45%. Jiho's soul hums against his fragment like a second heartbeat. He made it out. They all made it out. But Min has 3 fragments and a head start, and the ritual chamber is buried under 1,000 tons of collapsed fortress. For now, that's a problem for later. Miri finishes stabilizing Soo-yeon and turns to Seo-jun with exhaustion written across her face. She says his turn is next, and her golden light reaches for him. He doesn't argue. The healing settles over his broken ribs and torn muscles, and the exhaustion hits him like a truck. He's unconscious before his head touches the grass. The first thing Seo-jun feels is cold. Not the cold of wind or weather, but the cold of deep space, the god's domain. He opens his eyes and he's standing in a void of purple and black with stars burning at impossible distances. The god is in front of him, not a voice this time, but a shape, massive and shifting, and made of the same purple-gold light as his fragment. It doesn't speak with words, but with images and pressure, and the weight of eternity bearing down on his soul. It shows him what it wants. A body. A vessel strong enough to contain its full consciousness. It shows him Seo-jun's body walking through a burning city with purple fire in his eyes, and the sky cracking open above him. It shows him Soo-yeon and Miri kneeling at his feet with their eyes empty and their auras drained. It shows him a throne made of hunter bones and a world bent to its will. Then it shows him something else. Jiho's soul burning like a silver star between the god's teeth. The threat is clear. Submit or lose his brother forever. Seo-jun's hands clench into fists, and he feels something he hasn't felt since the day he was thrown into that first gate. Pure rage. He tells the god to get out of his head. The god laughs without sound, and the void shakes. But Jiho's light pulses against Seo-jun's chest, and the silver bleeds into the purple gold. The god recoils. Just a flinch, but it's enough. Seo-jun sees the truth in that moment. His brother isn't just an anchor. Jiho's soul is a weapon, and the god is afraid of it. Seo-jun takes a step forward, and the god takes a step back. The void begins to crack. He takes another step and another, and the god's shape flickers like a bad signal. He demands to know what the god is so scared of. The answer comes as a single image before the void shatters. Jiho standing in front of a younger Seo-jun with a blade in his hand, and 7 fragments orbiting his chest. The god's first defeat. Before Seo-jun was even a hunter, before the gates ever appeared, Jiho found the fragments first, and he stopped the god once already. That's why the subjugators wanted him dead. That's why Min kept his soul, not for leverage, for insurance. Seo-jun's eyes snap open, and he's back in his body with Miri's healing light still washing over him. He sits up so fast that Miri yelps and falls backward. Soo-yeon is propped against a rock nearby, and her eyes widen at whatever she sees in his face. Seo-jun's voice is hoarse but steady. He says his brother didn't just disappear into that gate. His brother was a god killer, and the god inside him knows it. That's why the voice went quiet. Not because of the resonance spell. Because Jiho's soul is the one thing in any dimension that can destroy it completely. Soo-yeon stares at him for a long moment. Then she says she knew Jiho was strong, but she never knew he carried fragments. None of them did. Seo-jun looks down at his hands, and the silver light wrapped around his fingers. He asks Jiho why he didn't tell anyone. The soul pulses once against his chest, and Seo-jun sees a flash of memory that isn't his. Jiho standing in a ruined temple with 6 fragments already absorbed and the 7th glowing in his palm. A woman's voice telling him to stop, telling him the fragments would consume him if he took the last one. Jiho's voice answering that he didn't have a choice, that the subjugators had already started the ritual and the god was waking up. He put the 7th fragment in his own chest and walked into the gate alone. He sealed the god inside himself and let the gate collapse around him, the ultimate sacrifice. Except Min pulled his soul out before the collapse was complete and kept it as a trophy. A leash. A backup plan in case the fragments ever rejected him. Seo-jun's hands are shaking. Miri reaches out and touches his shoulder, and her voice is soft. She asks if he's okay. He isn't. But he will be. He tells them what the god showed him, the burning city and the empty-eyed allies and the throne of bones. He tells them what happens if the god wins. Soo-yeon pushes herself upright, despite Miri's protests, and her expression is harder than Seo-jun has ever seen it. She says they won't let that happen. Miri nods and her golden light flares brighter. They're in this together, all 3 of them. Plus 1 soul that already beat the god once. Seo-jun looks at the crater where the gate used to be, and thinks about Min Jae-won racing toward the ritual chamber. The fortress is buried, but Min had 3 fragments and a dimensional shift pendant. He's not dead. He's somewhere else. And he's still planning to complete the ritual. They need to find the last fragment before he does. Jiho's soul pulses again, and this time the image is clear. A vault. Not in a fortress or a temple, but in the heart of the capital city, beneath the subjugators' main tower. The last fragment is inside Jiho's preserved body. Min kept it as a trophy and a backup vessel in case his own body failed during the ascension. Seo-jun's stomach turns at the thought of his brother's corpse, locked in a vault like a spare part. He stands up and his legs hold this time. He says they're going to the capital. Soo-yeon opens her mouth to argue, but Seo-jun cuts her off. They don't have time to rest or regroup or wait for reinforcements. They go now. Miri looks at Soo-yeon, and Soo-yeon looks at Seo-jun. And something passes between them that's more than strategy. Soo-yeon nods. She says she'll call No Jin-ho and get transport. She pulls out her phone, and the screen is cracked, but it still works. Miri helps her stand, and the golden light never stops flowing from her hands. The 3 of them walk down the mountain as the sun rises over the crater behind them. Seo-jun feels the god stir at the edge of his awareness, but Jiho's light pushes it back. For the first time since he absorbed the fragment, he feels like he's in control. Not of the god, not yet, but of himself. And that's enough for now. They reach the safe house by noon, and No Jin-ho is already waiting. The old guildmaster leans on his cane with the silver wolf's head, and his expression is grim. He says the entire Hunter Association felt the gate collapse. Every sensor in the country lit up, and the higher-ups are panicking. They want answers, and they want them now. Seo-jun walks past him into the underground garage and drops onto a cot. He says they can have answers after he stops Min from becoming a god. No Jin-ho's eyebrow rises, but he doesn't ask for clarification. He just nods and says he'll handle the association. Then he pulls a data chip from his cane and tosses it to Soo-yeon. The chip contains updated schematics of the subjugator tower in the capital, blueprints that didn't exist 3 years ago. Seo-jun looks at him and asks how he got them. No Jin-ho smiles, but there's nothing warm in it. He says he's been preparing for this fight longer than Seo-jun has been alive. Then he leaves without another word. Soo-young plugs the chip into a tablet, and the schematics light up the screen. 30 floors of reinforced structure with mana suppression arrays on every level. The vault is in the sub-basement, behind a biometric lock that requires Min's own signature. They can't bypass it without him. Seo-jun stares at the blueprints and feels the god stir again. Not with hunger this time, with anticipation. It knows the last fragment is close, and it wants it. Jiho's soul pulses a warning against Seo-jun's chest. The god is patient, but it's not passive. Every step closer to the fragments makes it stronger, and every use of soul union brings integration higher. He's at 45% now. If he hits 50, he doesn't know if the anchor will hold. Miri notices the tension in his shoulders and sits down next to him. She doesn't say anything. She just lets her golden light wash over him, and the warmth pushes back some of the cold. Soo-yeon watches from across the room, and there's something complicated in her expression. Jealousy and gratitude and fear all tangled together. She looks away when Seo-jun meets her eyes. He stands up and says they need a plan. The tower is guarded by 30 subjugator elites and at least 2 S-rank hunters loyal to Min. They can't fight through all of them, not with Soo-yeon injured and Seo-jun at half strength, and Miri's combat skills limited to support. They need a distraction. Soo-yeon nods slowly. She says she knows someone who owes her a favor, someone who can pull every hunter in the capital away from that tower for exactly 1 hour. Seo-jun asks who. Soo-yeon's lips twitch into something that's almost a smile. She says his name is Kang Dae-ho, and he's the most annoying man she's ever met. But he commands 300 hunters, and he hates the subjugators almost as much as she does. Miri perks up at the name and asks if she means the Crimson Boar Guildmaster, the one who challenged Min to a duel 3 years ago, and lost so badly he spent 6 months in a healing tank. Soo-yeon says that's the one. He's been waiting for a rematch ever since. Seo-jun looks between them and a plan starts to form. A direct assault is suicide, but a coordinated strike with a 300 hunter distraction and a surgical team going for the vault. That might work. He says they move tonight, before Min has time to complete the ritual, before the association locks down the capital, before his integration hits 50% and he loses himself completely. Soo-yeon makes the call. Miri packs medical supplies. Seo-jun sits in the corner with his brother's light pulsing against his chest and prepares for the fight that will decide everything. The god whispers at the edge of his mind, but Jiho's silver fire burns it back. Integration holds at 45%. The anchor is holding. Barely. He closes his eyes and sees his brother's face from the memory the god showed him. Jiho standing tall with 7 fragments blazing around him and the weight of a god's death on his shoulders. Seo-jun makes a promise to the silence. He says he'll finish what his brother started, even if it costs him everything. The night air over the capital tastes like ozone and iron. Soo-yeon's black SUV idles in an alley 3 blocks from the subjugator tower. She's still pale from the injury, but her hands are steady on the wheel. Miri sits in the back seat with a duffel bag full of medical supplies and 3 emergency mana potions. Seo-jun stares at the tower through the windshield and feels the god stir behind his ribs. Integration holds at 45%, but the god knows the last fragment is close. Jiho's silver light pulses once, and the god goes quiet again. Soo-yeon glances at him and says, Kang Dae-ho is in position. 300 Crimson Boar hunters are spread across the eastern district, waiting for the signal. The moment they start a fight big enough to trigger every mana sensor in the city, the tower's elite guards will deploy. That gives Seo-jun exactly 1 hour to reach the vault, retrieve the fragment, and get out. A huge man with a scarred face and a crimson cloak steps out of a side door and waves twice. That's Kang Dae-ho. He's built like a refrigerator, and he's grinning like a man who's been waiting 3 years for a rematch. Dae-ho says his boys are ready, and he's personally going to punch Min in the throat the second he sees him. Soo-yeon tells him to focus on the distraction and not get himself killed. The big man laughs and says he didn't survive 6 months in a healing tank just to die on a Tuesday. Then he raises a flare gun and fires a red streak into the sky. Every alarm in the Eastern District goes off at once. Hunters pour out of bars and rooftops and underground parking garages with weapons drawn and mana flaring. Dae-ho's voice booms across a dozen loudspeakers as he declares war on the subjugators. The tower's response is immediate. 20 elite guards stream out of the main entrance with purple suppression magic crackling around their fists. 2 S-rank hunters leap from the upper floors and land on the street with enough force to crater the asphalt. Seo-jun watches them go and counts the seconds. When the last guard clears the lobby, he opens the SUV door and steps out. Soo-yeon grabs his wrist and tells him to come back. Not as an order, not cold, Just a woman who's already lost one Ahn brother. Miri leans forward and presses her palm to his chest with a pulse of golden warmth. She says she'll be right behind him the whole time, and if he dies, she'll never forgive him. Seo-jun looks at both of them and nods once. Then he turns and runs toward the tower. The lobby is empty except for a reception desk and 3 mana suppression arrays humming in the walls. Seo-jun copies the suppression magic in 2 seconds flat and pulses it outward in a wave. The arrays short out with a crackle of purple spark. The elevator requires a biometric scan, but Seo-jun already has the code cylinder from the fortress raid. He jams it into the reader and the doors slide open. The ride down takes 40 seconds. Seo-jun uses every one of them to breathe and feel Jiho's light steady against his chest. The doors open on sub-basement 3. The vault is directly ahead, a circular door of black alloy with 7 different locking mechanisms and a biometric pad glowing purple. Min's signature is required. They knew this. Soo-yeon pulls out the tablet with no Jinho's schematics and points to a secondary access panel on the left wall. The panel is wired directly to the building's mana grid. If Seo-jun can overload the grid for exactly 3 seconds, the locks will disengage before the backup system kicks in. Miri asks what happens if he overloads it for 4 seconds. Soo-yeon says the entire sub-basement floods with suppression gas, and they all die. No pressure. Seo-jun places both hands on the panel and pushes golden mana into the circuits. The lights in the hallway flicker. The vault door groans. The first lock disengages, then the second, then the third. Seo-jun's arms shake with the strain, and a thin line of blood drips from his nose. The 4th lock clicks open. The 5th, the 6th, the 7th lock shudders and sticks. Soo-yeon counts down from 3. On 1, the panel sparks, and Seo-jun shoves everything he has into the grid. The 7th lock snaps open, and the vault door slides aside. Seo-jun pulls his hands back, and the panel goes dark a half-second before the backup system would have triggered. Miri exhales, and her golden light washes over him to stop the nosebleed. They step into the vault. The chamber is 20 meters across with walls of black glass and no visible light source. Everything glows with the same sick purple as the fortress temple. In the center of the room, suspended in a cylinder of liquid mana, floats the body of Ahn Ji-ho. He looks exactly like the photo in Seo-jun's journal. Same jaw, same shoulders, same hair drifting in the preservation fluid. But his chest glows with a pulsing golden light that Seo-jun feels like a second heartbeat. The last fragment is fused directly to his brother's heart. Seo-jun takes 1 step toward the cylinder, and a voice speaks from the shadows. In Jae-won says he was wondering when Seo-jun would arrive. He steps into the light, and he looks worse than before. The wounds from the fortress battle haven't fully healed, and one of his 3 fragments is cracked and leaking dark energy. But his eyes are still sharp, and his smile is still cold. He says Jiho was always the problem. Even in death, even in pieces, the man refused to stop fighting. Min gestures at the cylinder, and the preservation fluid swirls. Jiho's body twitches. The fragment in his chest pulses, and the corpse's eyes open. They're empty, blank, puppeted by the fragment's energy. Min says he's been waiting for the last piece of the puzzle, and Seo-jun just delivered himself. He raises one hand, and Jiho's body steps out of the cylinder with liquid mana dripping from its limbs. The corpse moves like a marionette on invisible strings. Seo-jun feels the god howl with rage. Integration ticks to 46%, then 47%. Jiho's soul burns hotter against Seo-jun's chest, a silver fire pushing back against the fragment's puppet strings. The corpse hesitates mid-step. Min's expression flickers with something that might be surprise. He says that's not possible. The fragment is under his control. Seo-jun doesn't answer. He just activates Soul Union. The god surges forward, and Seo-jun holds Jiho's laughter as his anchor. Golden mana explodes from his body in waves that crack the black glass walls. He crosses the distance between them in a blur and drives his fist into Min's chest. Min blocks with both arms, and the impact shatters the floor beneath them. The cracked fragment in Min's chest flares, and he retaliates with a blade of pure dark energy. Seo-jun copies it mid-swing and counters with a golden version that slices through Min's shoulder. The S-rank hunter staggers, and blood sprays across the vault floor. The puppeted corpse of Jiho lunges at Soo-yeon with claws of purple light. She dodges, but the claws clip her already injured side, and she crumples with a gasp. Miri screams her name and throws a barrier of golden light between the corpse and her friend. The puppet slams against the barrier, and the fragment in its chest pulses angrily. Seo-jun sees Soo-yeon bleeding, and something in him snaps. Integration hits 48%. The god's voice isn't a whisper anymore. It's a roar. It tells him to take the fragment, to tear it from the corpse and consume it, to become what he was always meant to be. Jiho's soul flares silver, and Seo-jun can almost hear his brother telling him to hold on. He reaches inside himself and finds the soul-binding technique, not to merge with the fragment, to sever the connection Min has established. Seo-jun extends one hand toward his brother's corpse, and golden chains of light erupt from his palm. They wrap around the fragment in Jiho's chest and pull. Min roars and tries to maintain control, but Seo-jun's soul union is stronger. The puppet strings snap. Jiho's body collapses to the floor, and the fragment tears free with a sound like ripping metal. It floats in the air between them, a golden orb identical to the one Seo-jun absorbed in the school gymnasium. Min lunges for it. Seo-jun reaches it first. His fingers close around the fragment, and it merges with him instantly. The god screams with triumph. Integration rockets past 49% and keeps climbing. Seo-jun's vision goes white and purple and silver all at once. He sees the god's domain stretching out before him, the throne of bones, the burning stars. And he sees Jiho standing in the center of it all, with his arms spread wide and silver fire pouring from his body. Jiho's voice, his real voice, says one word: hold. Seo-jun holds. The fragment settles into his chest, and integration stops at 49.9%, a hair below 50. The anchor holds. He opens his eyes and he's back in the vault. Min is screaming, clawing at his own chest where the cracked fragment is now hemorrhaging dark energy. Jiho's body crumbles to ash on the floor behind him. Soo-yeon is propped against the wall, with Miri's golden light flooding into her wound. The blood has stopped, but her face is gray. Seo-jun turns to Min and raises one hand. He doesn't need soul union anymore. He just needs to end this. A blade of golden mana forms in his palm, Moonlight Slash and Blade Storm, and every copied skill fused into one strike. Min looks at him and laughs. It's a broken, desperate sound. He says Seo-jun still doesn't understand, that the ritual is already complete, that Min never needed all 7 fragments to become a god. He just needed enough power to open the door. Min claps his hands together, and the remaining 2 fragments detonate. The explosion rips through the vault. Seo-jun throws himself over Soo-yeon and Miri as the shockwave hurls them across the room. When the dust clears, Min is gone. A portal hangs in the air where he stood, purple and black and bleeding something that isn't light. And through it, Seo-jun sees a shape. Something massive, something ancient, something that makes the god in his chest whimper with fear. Then the portal closes and the vault falls silent. Soo-yeon coughs blood, and Miri's healing light flares brighter. She's barely holding on. Seo-jun gathers her in his arms and runs. The tower shakes above them as Daeho's distraction turns into a full-scale battle. Seo-jun carries Soo-yeon up 3 flights of stairs with Miri right behind him, pumping golden light into her chest. They burst out of the lobby just as the Eastern District explodes with crimson and purple mana. Kang Daeho's voice echoes across the city as he screams at his hunters to push forward. The SUV is still idling in the alley. Miri takes the wheel and Seo-jun lays Soo-yeon across the back seat with her head in his lap. Her pulse is weak. Too weak. Miri floors the accelerator, and the SUV tears through the capital streets with sirens wailing behind them. Seo-jun looks down at Soo-yeon's pale face and feels the god's satisfaction curling at the edge of his mind. Integration at 49.9%. One more fragment. One more push. The god knows the end is near. But Jiho's silver light still burns, and Seo-jun still has an anchor. He presses his forehead to Soo-yeon's and whispers that she can't leave him, that he won't let her, that he's finished losing people he loves. Her eyelids flutter but don't open. The SUV swerves around a burning barricade, and Miri shouts that Daeho's hunters are falling back. The distraction is running out, but they got what they came for. The last fragment is inside Seo-jun. His brother's body is ash, and Min Jae-won just opened a door to something that terrifies even a god. Miri floors it through the burning capital streets, while the crimson explosions fade to a distant rumble. The SUV screams into an underground garage beneath a nondescript apartment block. She kills the engine and the silence hits like a punch. Seo-jun carries Soo-yeon up 4 flights of stairs with one arm hooked under her knees. Her head lolls against his shoulder, and her breathing is a wet, shallow rasp. Miri kicks the safe house door open and shouts for them to lay her on the bed. The room is small and bare, but the sheets are clean, and the medkit is already stocked. Golden light pours from Miri's hands the second Seo-jun lowers Soo-yeon onto the mattress. She presses both palms to the wound in Soo-yeon's chest, and the light sinks into torn flesh. Seo-jun stands at the foot of the bed and watches the gold battle the spreading gray in her skin. His hands are still covered in her blood. Miri's voice comes out tight and strained as she tells him to grab the emergency mana potion from her duffel. He finds the vial and presses it into her free hand without a word. She downs it in one gulp, and the golden aura flares so bright the room bleaches white. Soo-yeon's back arches off the mattress, and a choked sound escapes her throat. Then she goes limp. The gold fades. Miri drops her hands, and her shoulders heave with exhaustion. She says the wound is closed. The internal damage is repaired. But Soo-yeon's eyes don't open, and her face stays that awful gray. Seo-jun asks if she'll wake up. Miri doesn't answer right away, and that silence is worse than any bad news. She finally whispers that Soo-yeon slipped too far and her mana core went dark. The body is alive, but the light inside is out. She's in a coma, and nothing short of a miracle is bringing her back. Seo-jun sinks into the chair beside the bed and grabs Soo-yeon's cold fingers. He doesn't move for 3 hours. He sits in the chair with his forehead pressed to her knuckles, and the god's voice stays absolutely quiet. Miri brings him water and he doesn't drink it. She puts a blanket over his shoulders and he doesn't notice. The fragment in his chest pulses at 49.9%, and the power inside him feels like a loaded weapon with no target. He keeps replaying the vault fight in his head. The moment Min's puppet lunged and Soo-yeon shoved him aside, the spray of blood across the black floor. Every second he wasted not being fast enough. He tells Miri it should have been him. She crouches next to the chair and puts her hand over his and says, "That's not how love works." Her voice cracks on the word love, but she doesn't take it back. She tells him that Soo-yeon made her choice and he has to respect it. Seo-jun doesn't answer. His eyes stay fixed on the woman in the bed, and the guilt is a physical weight pressing down on his ribs. Miri stays there crouched beside him until her knees ache and her hands go numb. Then she gets up and makes rice and leaves the bowl on the nightstand because she knows he won't eat, but she can't do nothing. The white door opens at dawn, and Kang Dae-ho limps in with burn marks across his chest. He says the distraction worked, but they lost 17 hunters and the Eastern District is a crater. He asks if the raid was worth it. Seo-jun looks at Soo-yeon's gray face and doesn't know how to answer that question. Dae-ho follows his gaze and his jaw tightens. He mutters a curse and limps back out looking for a medic. Silver light blooms inside Seo-jun's chest around noon. Ji-ho's voice rises from the fragment like a bell struck underwater. He says he can feel Seo-jun's grief, and it's ripping him apart. Seo-jun squeezes his eyes shut and tells his brother that he can't do this alone. He can't fight the god, and he can't save Soo-yeon, and he can't stop Min, and he's just one broken kid with a monster inside him. Ji-ho's light pulses steady and warm. He says Seo-jun isn't alone, and he never has been. He explains that the fragment inside him right now is the last one, and it's incomplete. The fragment is a vessel, and it needs a consciousness to anchor its power fully. Right now it's just raw energy, and a hungry god whispering through it. But Ji-ho's soul is already tied to the fragment, and if he merges with it completely, he can become its new core. He can silence the god for good and give Seo-jun total mastery of all 7 fragments. The cost is that Ji-ho's individual existence ends. His personality and his memories and his voice will dissolve into the fragment's structure. He'll become the engine that powers Seo-jun's ascension, and nothing more. Seo-jun shakes his head and says no. He just got his brother back, and he's not losing him again. Ji-ho's light flares silver, and there's a sadness in it that's deeper than any ocean. He tells Seo-jun that he died 5 years ago in that god-level gate. The soul that's been trapped and carried and freed isn't a person anymore, and it's barely holding together. If he doesn't do this, he'll fade away into nothing anyway, and the god will eventually break through and use the fragment to consume everything. At least this way he can protect his little brother one last time. Seo-jun's throat closes and he can't speak. Ji-ho asks him to let him go. Miri finds Seo-jun crying silently in the chair, with silver light spilling from his chest like tears made of stars. They prepare the ritual in the safe house's main room. Miri draws a containment circle on the floor with crushed mana stones and her own golden aura. Seo-jun kneels in the center with the fragment pulsing hot beneath his ribs. He places both hands over his heart and closes his eyes. Ji-ho's light gathers into a single burning point and begins to sink into the fragment's core. The process isn't gentle. It's a fusion of soul and divine machinery, and every second feels like Seo-jun is being unmade and rebuilt. Silver fire races through his veins, and his back arches, and a raw scream tears out of his throat. Miri throws more golden light into the circle and refuses to let the resonance break. The god screams somewhere deep inside him, and then Ji-ho's voice cuts through it like a blade. He says one word: hold. Seo-jun holds. The silver fire collapses into his chest, and the fragment seals shut with a sound like a vault door slamming. The god goes absolutely silent. Seo-jun opens his eyes, and he can feel everything. The mana flow in the walls, and the heartbeat of the building, and the distant pulse of the remaining fragments scattered across the continent. He can feel Min's 3 fragments burning dark and frantic somewhere to the north. He can feel the ancient ruins stirring beneath a volcano, and the primordial monster waiting inside the stone. His senses reach across hundreds of kilometers like a web of golden threads. Miri asks if it worked. Seo-jun looks down at his hands, and golden mana flickers across his palms without him even trying. He says Jiho is gone. But the power isn't just his anymore, and it's stable and absolute, and he can wield all 7 fragments as one. The weight of it settles into his bones, and he feels invincible. And he feels utterly hollow. Kang Dae-ho bursts back through the door an hour later, with blood streaming from a gash on his forehead. He says the subjugators just hit the Hunter Association's satellite network with a broadcast. Every screen in the country is showing the same feed. Min Jae-won, standing in the mouth of a volcanic crater with a summoning circle burning around him. Behind him, the mouth of the volcano is cracking open, and something massive is clawing its way out. The primordial god monster is real, and Min just woke it up. Dae-ho says the top guilds are mobilizing, but nobody knows if they can stop a beast that size. Seo-jun rises from the chair, and the golden aura around him pushes Dae-ho back a step. He asks how long they have. Dae-ho says the broadcast showed the beast's arm already free, and the rest is coming fast. Maybe an hour before it's fully emerged. Seo-jun looks toward the bedroom where Soo-yeon lies still and silent. Muti reads his face and tells him she'll stay with her. She can't fight a primordial god monster, but she can keep Soo-yeon alive until he comes back. Seo-jun crosses to her and cups her face with one hand and tells her she's already done more than anyone could ask. Then he turns to Dae-ho and says he needs a vehicle and a clear route to the volcano. Dae-ho tosses him a set of keys and says there's a motorcycle in the garage with a full tank. He asks what the plan is. Seo-jun walks toward the door, and golden mana trails after him like a cloak. He says he's going to end Min Jae-won and pull that monster back into the ground. And if the god inside him has a problem with it, that's just too damn bad. Miri watches him go and presses her palm to the glass window. She whispers for him to come back. The door slams shut, and the roar of the motorcycle engine tears through the street below. The motorcycle tears down the mountain highway, and the ash cloud from the volcano paints the entire sky a sick shade of orange. Seo-jun can feel everything now. Every mana signature in the capital behind him, and every pulse of dark energy from the crater ahead. And the 3 fragments Min still carries burning, like black stars in his chest. His own golden aura wraps around the bike like a second engine, and the speedometer needle buries itself past the red line. He doesn't slow down. The road switchbacks up the mountain, and chunks of volcanic rock the size of cars rain down around him. He weaves through them without flinching. The god inside him is silent, but Seo-jun can still feel it watching, and waiting, and calculating. Jiho's light sits at the core of his fragment like a silver anchor, and nothing is getting past it. Not today, not ever again. The bike skids around a final bend, and the crater opens up in front of him like the mouth of hell. The volcanic cone has split wide open, and magma spills down the slopes in glowing rivers, and the air shimmers with heat. And rising from the center of the crater is the thing Min woke up. The primordial god monster is a mountain of black stone and pulsing red veins with arms the length of skyscrapers and fingers that end in obsidian claws. Its head hasn't fully emerged yet, but one eye is visible, and it's the size of a house, and it glows with the same purple light as the gates. Seo-jun kills the engine and kicks the stand down. The heat hits him like a physical wall, but his golden aura pushes it back without him even trying. Down in the crater basin, Min Jae-won stands at the center of a massive summoning circle carved into the volcanic rock. His 3 remaining fragments hover around him in a slow orbit, and his hands are raised toward the monster, and his mouth is moving in some ancient chant. He looks half dead already. His clothes are scorched, and one arm hangs at a wrong angle, and blood drips from his nose and ears. But he's still standing. He's still pushing. The guy just won't quit. Seo-jun walks down the slope into the crater, and his boots crunch on cooling lava, and the golden aura around him intensifies with every step. The monster's eye swivels toward him. Min Jae-won stops chanting and turns his head. Our boy doesn't say a word. He just keeps walking. Min's face twists through a dozen expressions at once. Shock and rage and disbelief, and then something that might be fear. He screams over the roar of the volcano that Seo-jun is too late and the summoning is almost complete. And once the monster fully emerges, it will consume everything. Seo-jun keeps walking. Min's fragments pulse, and he hurls a spear of compressed void energy straight at Seo-jun's chest. It's the same attack that nearly killed him back in the factory. Seo-jun doesn't even raise a hand to block it. The void spear hits his golden aura and shatters into sparks of nothing. He doesn't slow down. Min's good eye goes wide. He throws everything, blades of dark mana and chains of purple fire, and a gravity well that cracks the stone under Seo-jun's feet. Nothing gets through. Seo-jun's aura isn't just defensive anymore, and it's not just his own power either. Jiho's sacrifice fused all 7 fragments into a single, unified force, and the god's own divine machinery is running on a soul that it can't corrupt. The golden light eats Min's attacks like they're snacks. Seo-jun reaches the edge of the summoning circle and stops. He looks up at the monster. It's almost fully emerged now, and its chest is a landscape of jagged obsidian and rivers of lava, and the roar that comes out of its throat shakes the entire mountain. Dozens of hunter aircraft circle the volcano at a safe distance, and their searchlights cut through the ash cloud. The top guilds are here. They're just not stupid enough to get close. One of the aircraft broadcasts a message over a loudspeaker, and a tinny voice warns that the beast's energy signature is off every known scale. And all hunters are ordered to maintain perimeter only. Seo-jun ignores it. Min Jae-won pulls himself upright with sheer spite, and his fragments orbit faster, and his voice cracks when he speaks. He says Seo-jun has no idea what he's interfering with, and the god monster isn't just a beast, and it's the vessel for something far greater. He claims that when the summoning completes, the true god will descend and reshape the world, and he'll be rewarded with divinity. Seo-jun finally speaks. He says Min is an idiot. He says the god's fragments were never tools for humans to use, and they were a prison, and Min has been breaking the locks one by one. Min's face goes pale. Our boy tells him the god has been whispering to him since the very beginning, and guiding Min toward this exact moment. And the moment the monster fully emerges, the god will abandon Seo-jun's body and take the monster as its new vessel. Min says that's a lie. Seo-jun taps his chest where Jiho's light burns steady. He tells Min the only reason the god hasn't already done it is because his brother's soul is stronger than any divine prison. Min screams and charges. His 3 fragments flare to full power, and he becomes a blur of black energy, and his fist connects with Seo-jun's jaw. It actually lands. Seo-jun's head snaps to the side and he tastes blood. Min follows with a knee to the gut and an elbow to the temple, and a spinning kick that sends Seo-jun sliding back across the stone. Min's laughing now, and it's a broken, insane sound. He asks if that's all the great power gets him, and if Jiho died for nothing more than a few fancy light tricks. Seo-jun plants his feet. The golden aura around him doesn't flicker, and it doesn't dim, and it just gets brighter. He looks at Min and his eyes are pure silver. He says Jiho didn't die so he could fight Min. Jiho died so Seo-jun could fight the god. Min raises both hands for another void spear, and Seo-jun moves. Not fast, not flashy, just forward. One step, and he's inside Min's guard, and his palm presses flat against Min's chest. Golden chains explode from his hand and wrap around Min's 3 orbiting fragments, and they lock tight. Soul binding. Min screams as the connection severs. The fragments stop orbiting and drop into Seo-jun's waiting hand like ripe fruit. Without the fragments, Min is just a broken S-rank hunter with a crushed dream. He collapses to his knees. Seo-jun looks down at him, and for a second he almost feels pity. Then the monster roars, and the mountain splits wider and the real fight begins. Seo-jun pockets Min's fragments and turns to face the emerging god monster. Its full torso is out now, and its arms sweep across the crater rim and swat a hunter aircraft out of the sky like a toy. The wreckage spirals down into the lava. Seo-jun takes a breath. He activates Soul Union, not the desperate half-controlled version from the fortress, and not the 5-second burst he used against Min in the tower. Full Soul Union with Jiho's light as the anchor, and all 7 fragments unified. The golden aura around him explodes into a pillar of light that punches through the ash cloud and paints the entire volcano in silver and gold. Every hunter on every aircraft sees it. Every camera broadcasting the emergency feed captures it. The god inside him stirs for the first time since the fusion. It doesn't speak, it just watches. Seo-jun launches himself into the air. He crosses the distance to the monster in less than a second, and his fist connects with the side of its skull. The impact cracks the obsidian shell and sends a shockwave across the crater. The monster's head snaps to the side. It's not enough. The crack seals in seconds, and the monster's eye swivels back to him, and its jaw opens, and a beam of pure purple annihilation fires point blank. Seo-jun crosses his arms, and the golden aura takes the hit. The force shoves him back 100 meters, but the beam doesn't penetrate. He thinks fast. The monster regenerates, and it's drawing power from the volcano itself, and a straight brawl won't finish it. He needs to cut off its power source and absorb its energy the same way he absorbed the fragments. Jiho's light pulses, and an image flashes through his mind. The summoning circle. Min carved it to pull the monster's energy upward, But the same runes can work in reverse. Seo-jun drops out of the sky and lands on the crater floor beside the summoning circle. He kneels and presses both palms to the carved runes and lets his golden mana flood the channels. The circle lights up, not purple, but silver. The monster feels the shift immediately. Its regeneration stutters, and the lava rivers around it begin to cool, and its next roar is pure pain. It swipes at him with a claw the size of a bus. Seo-jun doesn't move. Jiho's voice echoes through the fragment. Not words this time, and not a memory, and just a feeling. Trust. Hold. Fight. Seo-jun trusts. He holds. He fights. The golden chains of soul binding erupt from the summoning circle and wrap around the monster's entire body, and they sink into its stone flesh like hooks. The monster thrashes, and the mountain shakes, and the ash cloud above them swirls into a tornado. Seo-jun pulls. The monster's energy flows backward through the circle and into Seo-jun's chest, and the fragment absorbs it like a sponge. Not to keep, to purify. The god's divine essence is in that monster, and Seo-jun's fragment tears it out and breaks it down and converts it into raw mana. The monster shrinks with every passing second. Its obsidian shell cracks and flakes away, and the purple light in its eye dims. It screams, and the scream rattles Seo-jun's teeth, but he doesn't let go. Min Jae-won watches from his knees. His face is slack with horror and disbelief, and the realization that he was never the summoner and he was just the bait. He says something, but the roar of the dying monster swallows it. Seo-jun pulls one final time. The monster's core tears free from its chest, and it's a pulsing sphere of purple and black energy the size of a basketball. It flies through the air and slams into Seo-jun's chest, and the fragment absorbs it whole. The monster collapses. Its body crumbles into millions of pieces of inert black stone, and the lava rivers harden into dark glass, and the ash cloud begins to thin. The silence that follows is absolute. Seo-jun stands at the center of the summoning circle, with golden aura still blazing, and 7 fragments humming in perfect harmony inside him. The god inside him hasn't moved. It hasn't spoken. It's almost like it's holding its breath. Min Jae-won struggles to his feet. His eyes are wild and empty, and he asks what happens now. Seo-jun walks over to him and stops a meter away. He tells Min his fragments are gone, and his summoning failed, and the god abandoned him the moment it realized Jiho's anchor was unbreakable. Min asks if Seo-jun is going to kill him. Seo-jun looks at the broken man in front of him and remembers the vault and the puppet strings and Soo-yeon's still body. He remembers Jiho's silver light burning itself out to give him this chance. He says killing Min would be easy. He says it would be satisfying. He says it would also be exactly what the god wants. Min frowns. Seo-jun explains that the god feeds on hatred and violence, and every fragment absorbed through bloodshed makes its eventual return easier. He says Min has been the god's perfect puppet from the very beginning. Min's legs give out and he sinks back to his knees. Our boy turns away. He tells Min to live with what he's done and to watch from the sidelines while Seo-jun does what he never could. He tells him to watch Seo-jun kill a god. The hunter aircraft descend now that the monster is gone, and their searchlights sweep across the crater. A dozen S-rank hunters drop from the transports and form a cautious perimeter. They've all seen the footage. They've all watched a high school kid absorb a primordial monster and strip 3 fragments from an S-rank trader without breaking a sweat. Nobody moves toward him. Nobody tries to stop him. Seo-jun walks past them and up the slope toward his motorcycle. The golden aura dims to a soft glow. Kang Dae-ho's voice crackles over a handheld radio one of the hunters is carrying, and he's shouting something about Seo-jun being an absolute madman. Our boy almost smiles. He reaches the bike and swings a leg over, and the engine roars to life. He has one more stop before this is over. The safe house. Soo-yeon. Meaty. He twists the throttle and the motorcycle tears down the mountain highway toward the capital. Behind him, the volcano settles into an uneasy silence, and Min Jae-won is left kneeling in the crater, surrounded by the shattered remains of his ambition. The god inside Seo-jun finally stirs. It doesn't speak, it doesn't threaten, it laughs. Low, dark chuckle that vibrates through the fragment like a bass note. Guess what it was laughing about? The primordial monster wasn't the god's vessel, and it wasn't its escape plan, and it was a test. And Seo-jun just passed it with flying colors. The god now has a vessel that absorbed a primordial being and unified 7 fragments and anchored them with a soul that can't be corrupted. The prison has become the perfect throne, and somewhere in the darkness between dimensions, something even older than the god opens an eye and takes notice.